We can just do a countdown. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Curious Endeavourances Book Club, where we read anything and everything. If you haven't watched us before, we run our stuffs through Goodreads, where we pick books and talk about books and read books, because it's a book club.
Pick, read, talk in that order.
Yes, usually in that order. We try to. Not always. So, yeah, we get together at the end of the month to discuss that month's pick. And this is where we do the discussing, but there's also forums, and we have a blog where we might occasionally post an actual written review.
I love how this gets less optimistic every time we do this.
Hey, I posted mine. I posted right an hour ago, so...
It's been at least 6 months, I think, since I've put anything on there because I'm a terrible person.
I did one for last month, and hopefully I will do one for this month. We'll see.
Sometimes some of us post them. We always talk about it. And that's where this comes into play.
We exist out there somewhere, somehow.
Goodreads, check below after the video. Links to things. Our personal things and the group things. Check it out. So before I get into this month's pick, I will do the introductions. We have Ashley Newell.
You thought that was like a question? Are you? I don't know. Yes, I think so. Today I am. Hi.
Oh.
It's okay. I have identity crisis too.
Sheriff.
And that's the cat creating havoc in the background.
That's the cat trying to go out the window. There's a little ledge, and I think he thinks he can walk on it. He can't. And then there is road below. Because he has tried.
Time to invest in a screen.
If I could show you how big these windows are, you would know how improbable that is. The whole wall. So, Ashley, then there's Julianne Wilson.
Hi.
There's no question mark on that one. She has a very solid identity.
Unless it's at work and I answer the phone and somebody thinks I'm Joanne. No, not Joanne. Julianne.
At least it's close enough. I usually get called Catherine, which I totally different. I think I was also called Sharon once. And Michelle. Pretty much anything except who I am.
They spell my name differently every week at work now. And never
So it's
right.
like you perpetually are like a Starbucks customer?
Yeah, I'm a perpetual Starbucks customer. In the land without Starbucks.
I was with you. I think we were bridesmaid dress shopping, and they like put a B in my name, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. But
I have a picture somewhere of that. I was like, this is the most...
Because they got your name right, which was a miracle, and then they're like, okay, I have like the most common name in Canada for my age group, and it was like some form of like, I don't know. There was a B, there was a W, there's like, and I don't know what they called out. It was my drink, and that was the only drink of that we made. It was followed yours. It was my drink. I'm like that. None of those letters are in my name. Okay.
No, the A was. They got the A.
There was an A in it? Oh, okay. I don't. I just remember going, okay.
Maybe I'll find it and post it on the Goodreads page if I can find it. For those who are now really curious.
This is why I have an identity crisis.
I'm Caitlin Perry. With Sheriff. Precariously perched. Okay. Yeah, so it was my pick this month. And I picked Paper Towns by John Green of the Fault in Our Stars authorship. So if you've read The Fault in Our Stars, read. If you haven't, read both.
I've been told, apparently. Okay.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but the book is amazing, and I bawled. Have tissues. That's all I'm saying. So Paper Towns, I will read the back. Or does Ashley want to read it because of the dramatic
But it's your pick, so it's your choice. I don't have to be the vlogging, dramatic reading
No,
for
I
I
physically
am.
can't read out loud, so.
Well, apparently neither can I. Last month, I'm like,
Julianne, take it
words.
away.
Okay, I'm on the spot.
I can do it. It's fine. There shouldn't be too many obscure ones in this, and
No.
less Spanish that I need to know. I do not speak Spanish. Quentin Jacobson has spent a lifetime loving the magnificently adventurous Margot Roth Spiegelman. I can say that from afar. So when she cracks open a window and climbs into his life, dressed like a ninja and summoning him for an ingenious campaign of revenge, he follows. After their all-nighter ends and a new day breaks, Q arrives at school to discover that Margot, always an enigma, has now become a mystery. But Q soon learns that there are clues, and they're for him. Oh my goodness!
What was that, Winky?
Oh my goodness!
What was that?
I don't know, that wasn't actually me.
Someone's watching our thing. Oh, what's happening?
Is the applause on? I turned it off. I didn't want it to distract us. There's applause.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that wasn't just me that heard that, right?
No.
Okay, 'cause oh my goodness, heart attack. I'm like closing all the windows. I don't know what I did. Closing all the windows. Heart attack. Heart attack.
I have no idea what that was.
Oh. Who was that? Who did that?
There is
Kicking you off.
potential that it was the cat whiskers against the microphone on my webcam, but that shouldn't be on, so I'm not sure.
Well, it was the video of it was another past month video that started.
Oh, I don't know.
That scared me half to death. That is not me. Oh my goodness.
Where were you?
One last sentence. Oh my god. This is a stressful job, okay? Urged down a disconnected path, the closer he gets, the less Q sees the girl he thought he knew. Ellipses.
Well
Take it
done.
away, Caitlin.
Someone's going to be very distracting tonight, I think. Very needy this month. Or, you know. So, thank you, Ashley. I was prepared, I swear. I'm very, very sorry. If you haven't watched this before, this happens a lot. Well, does anyone else want to give general impressions before I dive into greaterness?
Sure. There are so many quips and exchanges of banter and just like really humorously painted ideas that I absolutely fell in love with. I actually don't care very much for the story itself, which is a terrible thing to say. But yeah, I was reading for words, and the characters were just my source of hearing banter. Not really about seeing what they were doing in life. Didn't care about that so much. Just their witty commentary, which I loved. I loved so much. Look at all of the love. Plus, the stuff that isn't flagged is written here. These are the other things I absolutely loved.
Oh, I saw Black Santa Claus.
Can I like just read that whole section? Oh my god. Yeah. I better be doing dramatic readings today. Look at all the stuff I have to read.
That reminds me of another question I'll have for you guys. I have questions I'm curious about. But that'll be after. So, continue.
I fell constantly, and this will come up during the ratings, but I fell constantly between a 3 and a 5 in terms of there were parts that I really loved. A lot of the stuff that Ashley was talking about with the quips and just the hilarious little things that just literally made me burst out laughing where I was sitting. But then
I was in a public place, and I was like,
yeah.
I was waiting for Matt in the class, and I'm like, and I had just cracked up. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be waiting for a bit, and the black Santas, I got to that, and I'm like, and there's all these people trying to study around me, and I'm like, oh, and then I flip the page, and there's something else. I'm like, I'm like crazy person. Like, it's not even like the little tee-hee-hee thing. Like, it was like, yeah. Like, I was in my own little world, in my little private comedy show, burst out laughing, like I had a few drinks, which I've never had, so who knows what that actually would be like in real life. And, yeah, and there's just all these people just like... It's fine. Exactly. I'm just reading chick lit stuff, right? It's fine.
I love that you call it chick lit.
Well, because he's known for The Fault in Our Stars, which is, like,
yeah, the
new big...
See, I don't know that I would call it chick lit, though.
Content-wise, it's not. But because, again, it's your readership base, and it's the new obsession for all those little tween girls. So that's the initial impression of it. And I'm laughing like a maniac in the corner. Sorry, I totally interrupted you, Julianne. I'm a terrible person.
God. You made me feel less crazy because you also had the same issues. I'm good.
Yeah, loud laughter. Yeah.
Definitely causes random outbursts of maniacal laughter because it's hilarious.
Maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh.
But then there were also the moments where those disappeared and it was just plot-based, and I found myself kind of just waiting for the witty banter again.
Don't you just wait for them to get back in the car? They're so much more awesome when they're in a car going somewhere. Because it's car, and you're like, interesting stuff, and then there's all a prom. It's like, fine, we're going to have prom angst. And then we're back in the car, and it's wonderful again.
Yep, and I did. It's funny because, Ashley, you were mentioning you were reading it for the character banter and all that, not so much the plot. I felt that as well. The characters were really well fleshed out, and you could really see them. But the plot kind of fell a little flat for me.
Well, they had very vibrant personalities, but it's like the class clown at school, where you love hanging around them, but you actually know nothing about who they are as a person.
Yeah.
Like, you know their surface level wonderful self, and like, you know, we get the details about like parents and upbringing and whatnot, but I actually don't feel like I'm invested in these people. They're just like, hey, look, there they are, being silly again. Those people are awesome, but I'm not going to spend my weekend with them.
Yeah. But what an interesting notion about knowing people versus not really knowing people.
Ooh, like it's thematic.
I think for me, aside from the quips, those were a few of the takeaways, was when they would say something like I think if you, especially if you've ever had that experience, either being that person or realizing you didn't really know someone, you're kind of like, that's so true. Oh my god. And then, of course, trying to see things where there aren't things, like with the poem. Cute. Come on.
Yeah. Although she's like,
especially being lit majors, and it's like all we do is poem analysis. So it's and then you're trying to watch it through the eyes of an amateur, and you're just like, oh, this is. Can we just skip this part?
It's just painful. Let's go.
You've recited this poem to us like 5 times, and let's move on.
And the whole time it was like, check the door, check the door, check the door. Q, just check the door.
I am curious how the heck she got into his room to do that with the parents and all that stuff. Like,
this girl
she's a ninja.
Yeah.
She's a supernatural ninja. That's what the back says, and we don't know how she became a ninja, but she has these supernatural ninja abilities, except from her own parents, which she sneaks into his room the first time, and the dad's like, Margot! And she, like, rolls and hides under his bed, and he's like, I saw you! And she's like, ah.
I think for me too, a lot of times, especially with Margot in particular, I had to keep reminding myself that they're high school students. Because like when they show up and she's like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Mhm.
They came looking for you because they care.
The brain doesn't go bing for a number of years.
No, exactly. Well, and that's the thing is like, okay, teenagers. Okay, now I can do this.
So to be honest, Matt has a theory that I sabotaged my brain being that final development where you secure your long-term thinking. What is it? It's 20. Was it 23 or 25 for girls? I think it's 25 for boys, 23 for girls, right? For the average of when your brain clicks. Anyway, so we celebrated my Bing Day because that was my birthday where it was supposed to be the last bit of the brain was going to develop. And so it was like, yay, birthday. And then I walked into a wall. So we have this theory that I wasn't ready to be fully formed yet. So no, you don't. Back in we go.
I mean, I still do that, and I'm older than both of you, so.
Solid, non-mobile objects are hard. Okay, they jump out of nowhere. It's like, who put this wall here that I've been living next to for 5 years? Madness.
Half the time I don't even know what I hit myself on. I was at work, and I don't know how I managed it. It was like the counter or something, and I just whacked my hand so hard I went numb.
Ouch.
I was like, how? And I was just walking by, like it's a clear path, and somehow I went this as I was walking. Like,
I don't know how many desks I've like moved just walking around. It's like, so student desk, my desk, and I'm like, and I'm like, okay, yep, just smacked that with my hip.
But in conclusion, they haven't binged yet.
No Bing Day for them.
No.
Though it is kind of interesting because they have like these really mature
moments.
And like again, like she's got these crazy ninja abilities, and as far as we're aware, she's never had any secret ninja training. But she like even like those rumored stories is like, yeah, and then she like got backstage with this band and like hooked up with the bass player and then refused to hook up with the bass player. Okay.
Well, wasn't one of them something to the tune of her literally running away with a circus for 3 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was going to be a great trapeze artist or something like that. And it's like, oh. So she has these random trapeze acrobatic skills that somehow she's picked up over time, and these ninja skills, and like really elaborate puzzle making.
But as it turns out, the puzzle making isn't that elaborate.
No, it's not. Well, and of course, I mean, on the one hand...
Well, she did say she messed this last one up.
Yeah, well, because it's only meant for him to find the really grungy...
Yeah, and then she painted over the message that was there because he wasn't supposed to go further than that.
But of course,
and he wasn't supposed to piece together the holes in the wall.
But he found her. She left a paper trail.
So she's a ninja and he's a professional stalker. So great characters.
He should really go into like investigation at this rate. / obsession. But I mean, yeah, it would go between the banter and like the really interesting, profound realizations they would have sometimes. Like even at the beginning when they're really young and they found the dead body, and she's like, maybe all the strings broke, and you're like, oh.
And then he keeps reliving that metaphor, like even more than she does. It's like,
well, and then even when
her strings might have broken.
Well, because she even said, she's like, it was the last string. Like when she's like doing her revenge, she's like, So clearly she killed herself.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is a connection if she was still thinking about that, but she wasn't. She was past it.
Which, I mean, because they lost so much contact between the discovery of the dead body and then that random night of adventure, I mean, it's easy for her to forget those links because her life has moved on, whereas Q has been kind of still trapped in that version of Margot.
Poor Q. Poor Q. I love when she got mad at him. Like, I chose you because I wanted you to become a proper person, or whatever, however she phrases it.
Yeah, because he was like a play it safe kind of guy, never had like a lot of adventure. He enjoyed the boredom, and she's like, no, go live. Don't be a paper boy.
Yes. And of course, then she created the monster that would find her in the middle of nowhere.
It was like scary, obsessive. Like all those little communities he went to, and he's just like hanging out in squalor all the time. And I love how he keeps reminding us how well-adjusted, which is, I found that hilarious how many times he used the word well-adjusted, because who describes themselves that way?
Well,
I mean, he's got the therapist.
Like, yeah,
he's got the therapist parents, but it's just, like, you talk about other people as being well-adjusted. You don't often talk about yourself anyway, but he kept throwing that. He's like, and because my parents are therapists, I'm seriously well-adjusted. Like, okay, I feel like that's a really awkward, like, eHarmony profile. I am seriously well-adjusted.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny because I felt like that was John Green being like, yeah,
And then he's, of course, going out like a maniac, lying to his parents. He's like, yeah, so I'm going to prom. Hanging out in this dead community somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I love how when he lied to his parents, though, he's like, yeah, why didn't I start doing that before?
So much for well-adjusted.
Yeah, no kidding.
Margot broke him.
I will say, though, yeah, one thing for me that stood out, too, is, so between his two friends, they're both really good friends. But as the story goes on, you can see the kind of friendship, because, of course, he's obsessing, and they know he's obsessing. But why can't I remember their names right now?
Ben and... Oh, I know this.
That's
right.
I know this.
I don't.
I did.
like flipping. No. Radar.
Yes.
Ah,
I was going to say radar, and then I thought I was thinking of something else. But you see the difference, like when he calls them up, and he and Ben end up having a fight because Ben doesn't want to hear it. But at least radar is just like,
give me a minute and I'll show up.
Give me a minute, and then does call back.
Radar knows how important it is to him, so he's like, okay, just give me a minute, I'll be there. Whereas Ben, of course,
But I think that's the
video games.
If you remember when Q was explaining why him and Ben are friends in the first place, it's because it was 5th grade, and they both realized they didn't have best friends, so they might as well be each other's best friends, so they're not alone forever. So, I mean, that tells you it was a friendship of convenience and not a, like, we have such a bromance, dude, we're going to be best friends forever.
But I even flagged it, because it was just like, yeah, it happens. I mean, especially, I guess, at that age, things are changing and people are changing.
And Ben's so awkward, and it's funny because, I mean, there's not a lot of teenagers that awkward, but every now and then there is one, and you're like, oh, there's something seriously wrong. Like, the moment he started doing the honey bunny thing, I'm like, there's something not right here. It's like, yes, I'm fine, honey bunnies. I'm like, first off, what the hell decade are you from? And oh my god, it's just troubled teen, mad obsession.
Actually, gonna interject a random question. Other than me, does anybody watch The Big Bang Theory at all?
Of course.
Yes.
I don't watch the current episodes. Sadly, I've fallen
I haven't.
woefully behind.
I don't watch it like religiously or anything. If it's on, I'll watch it.
In my brain, right from the beginning, as soon as the term honey bunnies came up, Ben was Howard.
Yeah. Okay, I thought you were going to say Sheldon, and I'd be like, no.
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 Ben, literally, and then for the entire book, he was Howard. There was nothing I could do about it.
I love Sheldon. What's the matter with that? No, he's totally Howard.
No, because he's just obsessed with, can I touch it? Can I like, what was it when he's talking about his mom? It's like, your mom is one fine honey bunny. And like,
Yeah.
like, because she kissed Q's cheek, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh, I totally wish I was you, and my cheek was full of penises. And I was like, this is getting more and more obscene. Like,
I've been asked to clarify that moment where I was cringing in fear. There was a water gun pointed at me.
Okay.
well, we were talking about like awkward, creepy Ben, so that would have been an appropriate time to cringe anyway. What was it? It was the best. I don't know where it is. I totally marked it, but Radar was saying like, I don't remember what he said, but I'll find the quote eventually. But they're like, all across America, simultaneously, girls everywhere have felt a chill of terror run up their spine because of something awful you just said. I don't remember what it was. I'll find it because I know I have it flagged.
I remember
It's just like, yes, you are that creepy. Girls everywhere subconsciously have just, they've just like, it's just like a radar that has just come across everywhere. Just like there is a creepy dude out there somewhere that wants to touch things he cannot have. Quick, lock ourselves in our houses and get really big dogs.
All the big dogs.
All the big dogs, and you're telling your dad to stay home from work today, just in case. That shotgun Mom won't let you get, you should get it now. Which that dad totally did, and I'm like, okay, where? Like, we weren't set in Texas. I didn't realize that they were still that, shotgun happy in Florida. I was just in Orlando, so I'm just like, not the community I pictured running out fully armed. Good to know.
Maybe it says a lot about the character's family, and thus the character.
True.
Well, that was just the slut girl.
Yeah. Yeah,
She
can we
has a
talk
name,
about the
but-
revenge for a minute?
Sure.
Was it
Our
for me,
friendship sleeps with the fishes.
it was simultaneously awesome, but also was like, and again, I had to remind myself, teenagers, like, oh my god, this is so immature.
They're teenagers.
But still kind of awesome.
But still kind of awesome. Still kind of awesome. I think for me, I mean, it's hard because obviously you only get to see bits of the. You don't really get to see Lacey and Margot together a lot to fully understand the dynamic that Margot says, like, she's condescending and makes me, like, calls me fat without calling me fat. But
Lacey didn't get the worst of it, though.
no, she didn't, but she still got some of it. And even after that, she still went to help them find Margot, and then Margot called her a bitch.
But I think that's also a lot of Margot's own issues
Yeah,
because
exactly.
she has self-preserved herself so much that she's not even friends with her friends. Like, she's, again, playing out the image, right? She's with the popular group, and she plays out being with the popular group. So none of her friends know her, and she's not really interested in being close, deep friends with them either. And I think that's just like Q and Ben, that's a mutual understanding of we might as well be friends. I think that's what Margot's going through a lot. So she doesn't have that emotional connection with those girls. And so when this stuff happens, it was just like, well, it's inevitable, and she was planning on leaving anyway, so
Yeah.
it's just like, thanks for nothing, guys.
But, like, the planning for, like, especially when you get the when he's telling you about buying the list of stuff, like 3 catfish and spray paint and
And a big, what was it, the big daddy tub of Vaseline.
Vaseline. Like,
I
and
will
then-
be thankful. I had there were far worse things going through my mind for the Vaseline than what they actually ended up using it for. So I was like, okay,
But, like,
okay,
she's like,
that's all
this
right.
is a 12-step revenge program. And, like, what can you possibly do with all this stuff in 12 steps? I don't understand.
Everything.
Everything.
That's the lesson we learned. Everything.
So, my first question of the night, what would you do? Or would you?
As teenage me or as me now? Because
Both.
teenage me may enjoy the thought of that, but
Would never do it.
Far more insecure, so clearly the breakdown cry and realize that I am the most unworthy, horrible thing, because somehow I deserve this, right? Because I'm the least desirable person out there. So that would be high school me being like, oh god! Right, so I would just take
feel like
it
we're all
and
on the
probably
same page.
and take the douchebag back because no one else could possibly love me. And that's how teenage me would have handled this in this very self-destructive manner. Me now would maybe not go around buying catfish, but definitely less self-destructive, I think. Like, even, like, love my husband to death, never would imagine him doing anything, but just because I feel more secure, I mean, I still have a lot of insecurities, I'll totally admit to that, but I know I'm awesome enough now that had something happen, like, I'd be heartbroken and upset, but it was just, like, my tolerance level would be like, no, nuh-uh.
See, I already know. I don't know the rest of the plan, but step 1 is call my sister. Because I know that together we can come up with the most diabolical revenge plan.
Well, especially if she's a lawyer, so she knows how to, like, sweep up your trail and everything. Be like, this is how we can get the best out of it without any of the links coming back to us. You can't prove this!
Or, yeah, I did it, but it was legal. Loophole.
You'd, like, pay a fine for littering and be like, oh no, we're out $100.
Yep.
You have no car anymore, ha! But I know, I get the house, I get the dog, so, I mean, really, it's just like, no tolerance. They're just like, okay, have fun at Motel 6.
I have been informed that if we ever split, he's taking all the even pages of my books.
What?
Just to drive you up the wall?
Yeah, it's half of what I own.
But they're attached to the odd pages of the books.
I know.
Photocopy the sections. I mean, the ebooks make sense. You could, like, send him the digital one side, but everything else would be like, okay, like, black out those sides. Now no one can have it.
That would be a lifetime job.
He'd give up. He'd just torch him.
Sorry, Julianne, you were, I think, saying.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I don't think I could do the whole revenge plot thing. I'm not generally very good at the whole revenge plot thing.
Yeah. Well, that's also why I called my sister.
That would just cut. I would do the cutting of ties kind of thing, but it would be like a silent cutting of ties. I would be gone.
No, if it was full on
The
revenge.
problem with being so introverted, isn't it? All three of us are this way. So it's like, all the things we could do, but
we'll come up with the most.
That requires leaving the house, so let's not.
The most imaginative and innovative revenge plots that will just never happen.
That's true.
But they would go into a really nice story, wouldn't they?
I would probably come up with a great revenge plot, but never actually do it. And maybe
you off from my books.
Well, you know that when, like, first year university, and I was having issues with Matt at the time, and like, oh my god, this is like ridiculous, and if things keep going this direction, it's gonna be horrible. The douchebag dude in Galen was totally based on my frustrations at that time, so I do have an outlet for this.
That is useful.
Clearly things worked out in the end. But another problem with being an introverted female is that world of hypothetical, and everything lives in the world of hypothetical, and you go from, like, worst possible case scenario. Yeah. This would happen, and this would happen, and this would happen, and then it's so vivid. It's like that already happened, and you're like, you asshole! And they're like, what? What did I do? Not yet, but you'll do this, and then you'll do this, and you'll do this, and then you'll do this, so I'm going to do this now! And they're like,
what I've said to my mom is just like, she's like, oh, you need to talk to someone about this. I'm like, I can't. I've had this conversation with them so many times in my head. I just can't do it in real life. I'm tired of having this conversation.
Exactly.
She's like, I understand.
And this
I just
is
can't. There's
probably
so many
why we
possibilities.
write. Because if we didn't write it out, we'd go insane. So, I mean, the plus side is we will not be serial killers. That is the plus side. It might seem like we'd get there, but we can, like, it goes somewhere else. Because, again, that would require leaving the house at some point. It's like,
I don't know if I'm allowed to tweet that.
I would eliminate the serial killer part. Just
That's the
to
part I was
be
going
safe.
to tweet, and I was like, no.
Oh, no, you should be fine.
I don't know. Okay. I have another question. What obscure object would you collect to the point of breaking world records?
And it has to be obscure.
Well, I mean, on the same level as the world's largest collection of Black Santa Clauses.
Oh, I thought, okay, going that direction. I was thinking of, like, Margot's secret hidden record albums, and I'm like, well, I've got a whole bunch of books and a whole bunch of board games.
Oh, we've all got books.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh. I had a dragon collection going for a while, but I hit university and that stopped. So, but I had a bunch of little dragon figurines that I really loved. I don't know, the knick-knack thing kind of died out once.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't think of a knick-knack, but if I had all the time in the world.
Okay, go for it, and then I'm teaching me.
Yeah, good man.
Okay. If I had all the time in the world, this is going to seem very random, but possibly puzzles.
Oh, yeah.
I could totally be the person with the world's largest puzzle collection. I would love that.
Okay, changing my answer because I don't know why I didn't think of this. So, this is because my family's religion is actually Disney. And I make this analogy all the time because it's totally true. If you look at how people, worship in Catholicism, right? They've got their crucifixes up in the house, right? And everything comes back to retelling those stories and learning those morals. Well, everything in our family comes back to Disney. What's on top of our Christmas tree? It's a Mickey Mouse. Actually, ours is Tinkerbell right now. But still, it's what we have on our wall is Disney stuff. We retell through musical hymns of Disney songs, right? This is what we do. So that, I think, is our thing. Like our Christmas tree, totally Disney. The two paintings we got on our honeymoon they're like really beautiful landscape ones, but they've got like little hidden Disney characters in it. So it's not like the 2000 Black Santas, but it's a thing. Like we don't have all the Disney movies because, well, it's really hard to go back when they only release some things out of the vault at a time.
Right?
But
Second to soon.
So I think that's what it is, because it's as much as Radar's family worships the Black Santa as a religious type thing, even if it's just the fact of collecting it, not actually about, because that was his problem, right? He's like, it's not even like a statement that they need to, talk against like the traditional white American Santa image. They just are obsessed with finding these little knick-knacky things. And I think that would be the Disney stuff for us. I mean, we don't have 2,000 of these things, but what do I even have here? So this is Matt's room, so I don't have that much down here, but he does have some of his toy stories. We're going on a tour now. You're going to regret asking this. That's Crane behind us. So we have some Tato heads right here, Star Wars, of course, but Tato heads nonetheless. Once we get past the Terminator dudes, we got, because Matt could not have this, we have our Buzz, Woody, we have our tub of toy soldiers. I mean, there's my husband's collection of stuff.
Yeah, you guys got
board games over there. So we're very eclectic, but I mean, we got our Doctor Who stuff.
I don't know. About
But I think the Disney stuff's the big one because that'll be like the family share with everything. But so with the Doctor Who and the Harry Potter stuff. I don't know. We just like stuff. We're terrible. Consumerist whores. That's what we are. Terrible consumerist whores.
Mine's harder now because we basically got rid of everything when we moved. I gave so many miscellaneous Lion King children's books to my nephew. Like, I don't even... postcard books, various children's books about lions. So anything owl.
I bought you an owl.
You do. It's on my fridge. They're everywhere now. Well, because I have jewelries and they have little statues and they have stuffies and... Or... And this is one hockey player specific and Ashley knows what I'm talking about, maybe. Obscure.
Before I was even, I think, officially friends with Caitlin, I knew the Caitlin obsession with local hockey players.
But one in particular, so it's obscure junior hockey player autographed items. And the one player in particular, because I can't say all because I think Kevin's dad has me beat on that. It's even hanging on my wall. Autographed hockey cards. My mom has my jersey, though. My game-worn jersey that's signed to me. Just saying.
What was it? It was, I think when you came to Vancouver and we reunited, and you were talking about like the junior hockey players, and you started to feel really old because it used to be they were like older than you, so you're like the
and then they were in our class.
Teen fangirl, and then you're like, now they're getting younger than me. What's happening?
Well, because they were older than me, but then they were in our class because they range from 16 to 20. So the ones for our town would go to our school, to our high school.
Because we didn't have very many high school options, and
yeah,
so
they all, because a lot of them lived out of town, so they would bill it, and then they would go to our high school. And now I'm 26, and they're still only 16 to 20.
And then you just can't do it anymore.
So instead, I just obsess over the ones that I obsessed over then, but now when they play for NHL, or they don't play for NHL because they got an injury and can never play again, but I still have their stuff on my wall. So
Forever preserved.
Forever preserved. I won't say a name because then I'll sound like a stalker. But
I was mouthing it. I'm sorry.
Curse you. Yeah, or owls. But
I could be saying anything. It was probably just like watermelon.
Peas and carrots. Peas and carrots. Peas and carrots. I mean, ideally, it would be my collection of mid-range sized plushies from various geek things. But I had to get rid of a bunch. I mean, we just donated a whole bunch of my childhood stuffies that I haven't seen in like 15 years. Horo from League of Legends is up by the TV stand, and Fluttershy from My Little Pony is by the office.
Oh, and Lord of the Rings stuff. That was the other one I was forgetting. So we've got our Disney, we've got our Doctor Who. Or I shouldn't say. Yeah, I'll say we. And we've got our Harry Potter stuff. We've got our Lord of the Rings stuff, and then there's like just Matt stuff, which is the Ghostbusters, the Army of Darkness, the James Bond, the Star Wars, the Star Trek, the Seinfeld, the Die Hard, you name the man movies, and the Terminator stuff. Like that's yeah.
I love that you call them man movies, and they're the movies that I grew up on.
Well, they're the movies he grew up on, too. Like,
I'm like, Pretty Woman, what's Pretty Woman? Give me some Terminator, please.
That's been his favorite movie for all time. And also really excited because his first profession he ever wanted to... We're totally live, and I'm talking about personal stories. This is great. Tune in, everyone. Tune in. Just talking about my husband while he's at work. So...
About without divulging your personal stories and learning about your true
And that's
self.
what we're going to do right now. So, since he can remember, he's always wanted to be a Ghostbuster. Possibly a Ninja Turtle before that, but I think he settled on Ghostbuster at a very young age. And now he gets to be a Ghostbuster because they've got the Ghostbusters thing of Alberta and Calgary. And so that's his thing now. He's a Ghostbuster, and he's very happy. It's like his life's work right there. It's being a Ghostbuster. So, yeah.
I was
Dream
about
big.
to say, but I know so much about both of you, and I feel like I've told you so much that it's probably not as bad as I think. But, and this is actually relevant to the book, because of course she has all her best friends who don't really know her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know what the best friend tag is on YouTube, but a lot of YouTubers do it, where they do a video with their best friend and you ask questions and
Like interview your best friend?
Well, no, so be like their favorite song. So you write down what you think their favorite song is, and then if it's right, you get a point. So it's like
the newlywed game.
Yeah, it's a lot like the newlywed game. Like they have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, and then a best friend tag. But sometimes I'll listen, I'm like, I don't think anyone but Kevin knows my favorite song. And it's just because of what the kind of questions they are. Like some of it is like, well, when did you meet? When did you meet each other's parents? And
I don't even know my favorite song.
I
I only figured out a couple years ago what my favorite food was. I hated that question. So I'm like, I don't know. God, I only recently figured that out.
I still haven't figured that out.
Oysters.
Pierogies, because I've realized, I'm very particular about what is a breakfast time food, what is a lunchtime food, what is a dinner time food, and pierogies just like cross all bounds. There's like no end to the pierogies. It's like, yes, you can have a few pierogies. It's like, no, that can never have a few pierogies. I need all the pierogies.
All the oysters.
All of them. All the time.
All the oysters. All the oysters. All the oysters.
I really don't know.
I love that.
So stop and think about this. What is okay as a breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert food? That's the only reason I figured it out.
No, yeah.
Mind you, I don't have very strict boundaries with breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
See, I don't either.
I'll
eat anything whenever I want.
Yeah, I'll eat anything.
I will check the time to see if it is appropriate for me to consume something. But like, it's not for like everything. Like, not anymore. But when we were teenagers when we met. So he'd be like, breakfast. I'm gonna open this 2-liter thing of Pepsi, and I'd be like, no. So if he like offers me a pop, I'm seriously gonna look at the time and be like, is it before noon? No, I am not having pop before noon.
I only do that with wine. Because I refuse to cross that line. I don't care how bad my day has been.
Well, we don't drink, so really the carbonated beverage is as close to our social
I'll
drink
drink
as we
carbonated
can.
beverages before noon.
But you've got another level of beverage that we do not have.
Yeah, but noon is not my wine cutoff either. I want to point that out before people think I drink as soon as noon.
It's 12:01. Pull out the bottle.
Unless it's like a fancy brunch lunch deal at a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
In this situation, no. That is not my cutoff. FYI. No, but that's the thing. Like with so anyway, yeah, with the friendship tag, it's kind of like I watched them and I'm like, and I like looked up the questions and I was like, I don't even know, because some of it is like, I mean, they know the important stuff really well. Like there's some of the questions I'm like, oh yeah, they would get that. But then there's other things like, no one knows my favorite song. My favorite song is really obscure and it's never come up in conversation.
I personally would rather you know, like, the source of my like family drama or like things like that. Because again, I don't even know what my favorite song is. So just because you knew like what I danced to at my wedding, that doesn't mean I'm going to like start divulging my life secrets to you. Right? I think there's difference being there when you had the mental breakdown.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the day before your wedding and a crisis has occurred. Kaylin! That's more important to me than the do you know which song I like. Seriously, I picked the
We
best
are live,
bridesmaids
Ashley.
ever.
We are live.
No, I didn't.
I don't know how
I
you-
didn't say what it was.
Okay.
I didn't say what the crisis was. I was gonna say I
Alright.
picked the best bridesmaids ever because they dealt with like the most obscure personal stuff, and Kara's in there helping me go to the bathroom in my big dress. Like, really,
I called
who
a
does
practical
that?
stranger for you. Twice.
Sorry?
I called
What?
practical strangers for you. So you know I love you.
Oh, okay.
You probably don't know about this because you were busy getting all pretty.
Practical strangers, okay.
Like the event planner.
Oh.
You're like, I don't know. I'm like, you don't have to know. Don't worry about it. We took care of it.
It happened. It feels like it was years ago. It wasn't, but...
Yeah.
So yeah, best friends. Don't have to know the surface level stuff, but there's a difference between the... Basically how Margot was with her friends in the we know what she wears and we know what she does in school, we know who her boyfriend is, versus we have no idea that she's really into poetry. We have no idea that she likes to collect old records.
Yeah.
Or why she runs away in the first place.
No.
Like it's a surprise to everyone how her family treats her.
Yeah, and you think at some point, like, I think they focus more on the, like, oh my god, she's so crazy and adventurous. Like, she keeps running away, guys, to do these, like, really crazy and potentially dangerous things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to stop and say, hey, Margot, we should probably talk, because I'm concerned, and you're my friend.
Or she disappears, and they're like, so, prom!
Margot, whatevs.
She's just seeking attention. Just leave her alone. She'll show up on the prom night, and it'll all be about her. It's like, or she could be dead in a ditch somewhere, because sometimes I think she's suicidal.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, Q was obsessive, but on the other one hand, he was the only one that cared. And when you realize, I mean, she was okay, but she was...
Well, especially when he realized he was the only one who was getting to know the side of Margot, because during that night of revenge, right, she's lashing out against all her friends who treat her like crap. So he knows she's got no one. And after, she runs away and he's actually in that room with her parents, and he's like, oh my god, no one knows her, and she's putting up with all this crap, and no one knows she's dealing with it. So, I mean, he has to obsess because no one else will.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, like it's obsessive, and like Ben gets upset, but at least Ritter realizes that okay, A, he cares, but B, no one else cares.
Yeah.
Like he cares a lot. Like if other people cared, it would be too much. But the fact that no one.
Even the police officer was like, yeah, but she does this, and
and she's 18, so.
So there's nothing we can do about it. Chances are either she'll come back or she won't, and that'll be the end of it.
Well, at what point would they then go, it's a missing persons report? Because adults go missing.
But it's because she has the history of it, and I think that was the big issue.
If she went, like...
Well, I mean, she did, but you never know.
But I think it's the record of it, of she always does this. They always have to go find her. But she always comes back, so it was one of those things of, this is clearly a girl that there's no point us wasting our time and energy on. Which is, I think, another reason why it's so important for Q, because, right, he's talking to the parents, he's talking to the cop, and seriously, she's a lost cause. Everyone's writing her off.
Well, and especially because it's like the boy who cried wolf scenario, because she did keep running, so. I mean, she didn't want anyone to find her, so it didn't matter, but still.
The world of the desperate teenager.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is like the place that she went to is like poetic. It's the grand poetic gesture of going to the paper town.
But she's living in squalor.
Yeah. And they just like... I get, too, that they weren't really her friends. They were just kind of, the rest were there for the adventure, and Lacey had been kind of her friend, but it was mostly because of Q.
Mm-hmm.
I personally probably would have knocked my friend out and be like, "You're coming back with me. You're an idiot. You can't live like this."
Well, she wasn't going to continue living like that, though. She was going to move to New York.
Yeah, but still.
But
That's
it
just
was.
me.
They're
But it
considering
was
like
also
who
her.
she had to go back to.
She didn't have to go back to her parents.
Yeah, I suppose. And
But
she
I
had
think
gone to college, right?
Yeah.
I think the other big thing was that she wanted to, just because she did want to cut everything off, right? It didn't mean anything if she still had some ties back. And I think that was the other really tragic thing of, right, she had to, the only reason she made those popular friends and all that was so that it would mean something when she started over, because she would start from nothing, and that would be meaningful to her life. So I think that's another kind of really tragic, concerning thing that basically how much she felt she was a paper girl.
Yeah. I was going to say, interestingly, too, she had the whole thing planned out ahead of time and designated for, like, once they graduated, which kind of makes you wonder, like, was she planning on being that vicious even before? Like, was she planning on...
Well, the big thing was the cheating. As soon as she found out about the cheating and the fact that her friends didn't tell her that... What was the other... Not Lacey. What was the other girl?
I don't know.
Becca? Becca? Was it Becca?
That sounds familiar.
Might be Becca, yeah. The one who was actually with the...
Yeah, the one who was actually friends with the boyfriend.
Yeah. I don't even remember the boyfriend's name. God.
Worthington. Something.
Yeah.
No, that was Becca.
Like, no. Something like that.
Whatever.
Too many names of characters that weren't that important.
The baseball guy. They all played baseball. I didn't realize baseball dudes were such a big thing. But anyway. Jace and Becca. Okay, there we go.
Hey, I was right.
Yeah. So, like, all these things, clearly, like we were just talking about friendship versus just totally for show, right? And all these things are happening behind her back. Her big thing against Lacey was, well, Lacey knew and didn't tell her. So
but
clearly there's... No. But the idea was that Margot thought that it was kind of really all this big joke on her because they let her go through this.
Yeah. What I'm curious about is because later in the book she says that she had the whole thing planned out ahead of time. So I'm just curious what she originally had planned out. Was it a slightly less vicious version of what she did?
Well, she had the Q part planned out.
Yeah.
Because she had all of that set out for him.
Okay.
And I think probably because they were childhood friends, she knew that he was still a decent person. And it was her fault for cutting him out.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that part was always there. Right? She wanted to share the adventure with him. But it's got to happen now, and I've got to get out, and I've got to, put my friends in their place. Like Lilo and Stitch, my friends need to be punished. That, I think, came purely out of...
Can we all be Lilo in real life?
Mr. Bubbles, aliens are attacking my house. Oh, good. My dog found the chainsaw.
Sheriff. Hey. Mine.
God, I love Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. See, when you were talking about Disney, I thought you were going to say you had a giant collection of Stitch.
I don't have a giant collection of Stitch. We just have Stitches. Saved for a particular purpose.
Yeah. Hi, Sheriff. I have to rescue my food from the cat. Those are my notes. How nice of you to completely lie on them and squish them. Oh, thank you. Anyway, sorry. Like I said, someone's being particularly needy because, I'm working and in school, so I'm not home all the time.
There is a joy in being unemployed. I kind of miss it.
Yeah. Fun employed. Sorry, but yeah, like so she had the whole Q part planned, but and then you wonder like how quickly could she have planned all of that stuff?
But that was the other big thing that they kept wondering, like they kept asking who's actually doing the planning for all these elaborate things, who's the mastermind behind. But I mean, that's dismissing her because they think she's just some flighty, cheerleader-esque popular girl, right? So Q knows that she's smarter than she looks. Right, the whole adventure that they had, breaking into SeaWorld just for the sake of it, like that, all of that. Right?
Oh. When they talked, so I had to stop and like show it to Kevin because when she talks about like, oh, we won't go near the Shamu because the guy broke in, or like they put the fence up because the guy broke in and Shamu killed him, and I was just like, I just watched that movie.
The Blackfish?
Blackfish, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too, so that was totally playing through my mind. I'm like, great, now I can never go to any of these things.
I know, and that was the thing, right? I'm like, we had just watched it a week before I read this, and I was just like...
That movie is literally on my list of things to watch that has not happened yet.
Oh my god.
You will never enjoy whale things again. You were just going to be like,
the
those
funny
poor
thing
whales.
is, it wasn't... I thought it was going to be more emotional, tear-jerking kind of stuff.
No, it was just horrifying.
It was just horrifying. It was just deeply, profoundly horrifying.
And then this person was killed, and then this person was killed, and this was a really nice, sweet trainer, and they were killed. I'm just like, oh.
See, and I thought it was going to be a little... I didn't know exactly the line it was going along, so I thought it would be completely different than what it was. And then I read this book, and I was just like, legitimate reference to awful things. Anyway.
Just a cat.
But another question I have to take away. If you could break into any one place and knew you wouldn't get in trouble, because they didn't, they got away with it, where would you break into? Anywhere. It doesn't have to be a theme park.
See, because that's hard, because my first thing would be like, yeah, roller coasters, but then you need people to operate, and that's what they found when they actually got into SeaWorld. They're like, yeah, but everything's locked up and closed down, so really there's like nothing to do. You're just there to say you were there. So the whole breaking into theme park thing, not that awesome.
Yeah, he was like, oh,
It would have to be... It would have to be some ruin of some sort. Like, we didn't break into it, we got allowed into it, but like Camber Castle, for example, is completely closed off to the public. So because we were a special tour group, right, they opened it up for us. So things like that where I could go into those old places, and I like to climb old rocks and just... Right? It was awesome. Like Henry VIII was in this building at some point on these stairs. Touch. So things like that, because that wouldn't require anyone to operate anything. It would just be as is.
See,
provided it wasn't shut down because it was going to collapse on me.
That would be legitimately cool.
Yeah. I was thinking library.
Damn it, that was what I was thinking.
I knew that's what you were thinking. And like, I'm not going to get caught, so I can turn the lights on so I can actually read.
Actually, I think I might keep the lights off. Like, just like a little bit of light.
No, just
that way
to read.
But seriously, like giant library. Or better yet, the parts of the library that you're not actually allowed to go in because they have all the historical text.
The restricted section of the library.
Yeah.
The little glass rooms. Oh. But then I really wouldn't be able to touch anything. I would just be there and like smell the books, and I'd just be like, but they're pretty books. God. I decided I just need to live in a library.
See, my only issue there is I keep thinking of the silence in the library.
Yeah, but I just remind myself that that's not real, so it's okay.
You think it's not real.
Turn on the lights and count the shadows.
Yeah.
You think it's not real, but the same thing I said to Ashley and my mom about the Doctor Who exhibition and the part with the angels. It's the perfect place for them to hide because
you would assume that they're not real, and then all of a sudden you are in a different time.
This is how my brain works.
The first chick that went through the time loop, like in the first time we were introduced to the angel, that didn't turn out so bad. She met like an awesome old-timey dude, and they got married and had kids. So it's like it uprooted her life, but it worked out far better than Amy and Rory. They got the loop of all hell.
They'll cry. But I'm just saying, same with the library. I would have to stay in the light. I need enough light to read and enough light to make sure I have one shadow.
I love libraries, though.
Or if you have enough light, you don't really get a shadow, just like complete.
Yeah, but then I have to light up the whole library and you lose the mystique.
I'm still taking old castles.
That's right.
Or fortresses or whatnot. Give me a whole tour of the UK and Ireland, and I will just go through all of those old places. I actually like the rubbled ones more than like the preserved ones. It's like, yes, we've kept it as like a current military base, or it's a currently museum, and it's like, that's nice. I just want to climb on old rocks.
No.
Bad cat. Bad cat. Squirt.
Someone took it to squirt me.
Ah.
I'd say we could unleash my dog, but no, your cat would beat up my dog.
Yeah.
My dog is bigger, but
That
your
doesn't
cat's
matter. My cat beat up my dog, and my dog is bigger than your dog.
Yeah, no, when my cat was a kitten, and I'm not even kidding, like 8, 9 weeks old, she had the Cocker Spaniel beat. So he just came bounding over excitedly to find out what this thing was, and she turned upside down, and all the claws went into his belly, and he was afraid of her for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's the number one rule. Like when we have cat sitters that haven't met him, it's like he's gonna make you think that he wants you to scratch his belly. It's a trap. It's a trap.
False sense of security.
Because he does the cuddle. Oh, you're petting me. Look at my belly, pat my belly. That's gonna be a great screenshot, by the way.
I'm surprised it didn't freeze. Like all of a sudden, drop internet.
And the back ones too.
If it happened, we could just start playing the Thriller song. Make a little GIF out of it.
Except you don't have the rights. I can't snap with that hand. Ow.
We can get away with the first 3 seconds.
Yes. I think you get 10 seconds.
There we go. That's like enough for the chorus.
Oh yeah.
And that's all you need.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, library, definitely library.
Yes. Library.
I love libraries, and especially the sections with all the old books.
Well,
my favorite book in my collection currently is a very old version of Pride and Prejudice that I only touch very rarely because it's so old, but it's beautiful. Oh.
Excuse me.
I feel like Cheryl must have gotten Cheryl.
Catastrophe. Terrible fuzzy bear joke. Waka waka. Oh.
Is
the cat alive?
Yes. Okay, the window was open just enough for him to walk out, and then when I told him to get back in, instead of backing in, he tried to turn around, even though there's no room. So.
Because he is a big cat, so gravity is not on his side.
Well, and he also falls off of things without moving. Hi! You scared me. You scared me. How did you do that?
And you missed Ashley's great pun.
Ah!
It wasn't that great.
It was very cute.
No, you're not that pretty.
Oh, I'm such a loser.
No.
Tell me.
No, you ran away, so I said it was a catastrophe, and then I laughed at myself.
You're
And
so
I said
lucky
it
it
was a
was.
Fuzzy Bear joke, and then I said Waka Waka, because
Waka waka.
yeah, because I'm awesome like that. See, my brain did not go bing. Clearly, I'm waiting.
Did
I
it
probably
end up
suppressed it
ours?
for life. It's
Are we
never
sure
gonna
it's
happen.
got 25 and I'm just, well, then I'm still out of luck. You two have a chance.
I think it's sabotage. I think it was 23 for girls. I think it's 25 for boys, 23 for girls on average.
But see, that's an average. That means it's different for everybody.
I think just I still walked into the wall, so I think that's it. It's capped.
Yeah, if I tried to break into
Whatever's
SeaWorld, I
formed
would have
now.
drowned in the creek.
All right, book.
Yes.
Segue.
But
Segue. Book.
Did you have any other questions for us?
I do. Okay,
I like
so
this.
because I was trying to be productive this month. So of course, Walt Whitman's Song of Myself was only used actually for one clue. It didn't mean anything, but Hugh thought that it did. So
Well, it
if-
was the door.
no, it was the door, but he assumed it meant
more.
many.
I'm gonna go kill myself.
Yeah, some great other things. So, assuming that we're accurate, is there a text, a poem, a book, a song that you would use as your personal representation, or is that too deep?
Frivolous cake? What?
Ashley, I
can't use the frivolous cake for everything. Frivolous cake, Jabberwocky, like just.
Shenanigans. I mean, unless you can actually tell me why the Jabberwocky is a representation of yourself.
I probably could.
Well, yeah, this is what we studied.
Just give me a minute.
I can make
Okay,
it.
Okay, let me think.
I'm gonna take this pause to go grab a power cord because my laptop is about to die. I will be right back.
Go, save it, save it, save your screen. I don't know, because I guess it would really depend on what I was feeling at that time, right? Because Margot, if she were picking it for that high-end reason, it's because she was in a very lonely, desperate place at that time, right? She was feeling very disconnected, and so that's what she would try to get across. So it would depend the reason. Like if I were feeling alone and disconnected, a poem or literary piece that I would pick would have to reflect that. Me right now, not feeling that alone and desperate. So, I don't know. See, right now, me picking something like Frivolous Cake or Jabberwocky would make total sense because I'm feeling pretty happy and giddy and whimsical right now. So, it would totally fit. For something more serious, though, I think it would really depend on the crisis I was facing, right? And it would probably come down to song lyrics more than anything. I think that's what I would go to more than poetry. Yeah.
Songs tend to be more, concisely based in the moment, I guess.
And I've got a playlist for everything, so I'm sure in whatever moment, whatever I was experiencing, I could find something to fit, those thoughts of alone and desperate.
So as you're talking, I'm thinking about it, and to that point, I feel like any given scene of The Hobbit would work at any given point in my life. Because there are moments where I'm like, I'm going on an adventure, and other times like, I don't want to go. I want to stay in my home. I don't want to do this. Like you have those moments of like, oh yeah, I totally rocked that. I made that work. I'm amazing. And other places just like, nope, not good. No.
Going out your door is an awfully big adventure.
Exactly.
Don't keep your feet. There's no knowing where they'll take you.
Absolutely. So yeah, I feel like The Hobbit at any given point. Like there's that moment where you're like, oh no, the trolls have everyone. Oh no, the trolls have everyone. And they're like, oh wait, I can get out of this. Oh no, everyone's wrapped in spider webs. If you get my drift, imagine it.
But
You know,
they
you
have
It's
parasites.
very entertaining because as I was getting that power cord, I just found a spider.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my, okay.
Stay with
Oh,
power cord.
spider story. So I took a nap on the couch, and Matt woke me up. He didn't say anything. He just like touched my shoulder and said, "Don't move." Freaking spider was on me. Like actually had crawled onto. It's like my worst nightmare. Every time we see a spider, I freak out, and he's like, "They're not gonna go near you. They're not gonna touch you." Yeah, well, I let my guard down, and the spider freaking crossed my body while I was sleeping. So there. Like, how long was it there? Did it lay eggs in my brain? God.
I could be really mean right now, but I'm not going to. I will say, I feel like I'm in that small percentage of people who aren't terrified of spiders. So whenever you guys talk about it, I'm like, oh my god. It's a spider. Squeeze it.
They're frightening. I'm not as afraid of them as I used to be because, you know, I did the whole 6 months in Hong Kong and had to get used to the cockroaches that are like this big. So spiders with their lovely fragile squishableness or squishability are not as terrifying now.
Yeah,
But
when
they're
I was
still
living in England, I had to deal with my own spiders because if I shriek and say there's a spider and they're like, "Yeah, deal with it." So I had to. I had to fend for myself. And then I came back and I got to, you know, be dependent again. There's a spider!
I would have to, before we left, I would vacuum. So our last place, we got spiders in the bathroom all the time. So anytime we went away, because I knew Julianne was coming to cat sit, I would vacuum and clean every crevice of the bathroom to make sure there were no spiders alive or dead. But the rest of the time, I just lived with them.
I take the small, useless Tupperware containers because they always give you like dozens of those when you actual ones you use, and you get the little tiny useless ones. So, spider, trap it under that, and then Matt would come home and be like, "Okay, going on the scavenger hunt for all the spiders I have to deal with."
My fears are so far removed from your fears.
I'm a little chicken girl, okay? Just ask anyone that was ziplining with me in England. I was going to do everything in England. Just determined. Best experience of my life. And I'm like, oh God! Like, Ashley, just go!
I think
I'm
Kevin
such
thought
a
I was going to
chicken
chicken
girl.
out. We went with a group of people when we were in Mexico to do an adventure thing. It had zip lining and rappelling. That's not what you said. I didn't chicken out. I like heights. Because I am tiny.
I can roller coaster anything. Like, we did the Dragon Challenge thing, like, over and over and over again. I have a thing about dangly feet. I get really awkward about dangly feet.
I know what they are, but when you go on those rides, like the Mummy at Universal Studios, and then the scarabs are on your feet, and I know they're just hoses whipping air at you, but I hate that feeling. Nothing else bugs me on any of those rides, but any ride that's like, I know there's not things on my feet, I just hate the feeling so badly that, like, I'm not gonna.
So we're at Disney World, and they revamped an old ride that used to be like this alien encounter thing, and that thing was freaky, man. It was like horror movie stuff, right? The alien breaks out. So they revamped it so it's Stitch. So Stitch is not as scary. He just, you know, jumps around and laughs and like belches in your face, and that's fine. But I still remember 11-year-old me with the really freaky one. So even though it's like toned down so children can actually go on this ride, I'm like, any moment now, at any moment it's going to be the big scary one. So I'm like being a bigger baby than anyone else in there because none of these little kids know what that ride used to be. It's coming. Ah!
I just don't like the feel of things. don't like touching things. I don't like things touching me. I'm just gonna stay in my safe little hole.
This has been a very revealing Curious Endeavourances.
To counteract the non-revealing nature of Hypertowns. Or the revealing nature.
Or the very revealing. Right, all the masks are gone. And
Pull the masks off. I don't like masks.
I love masks.
I don't mind, like, the Venetian masks, right? I don't mind. I don't like having...
One up there, you guys can't see it, but it's up there, and I love it!
Yeah, I just can't have my full face covered. I can't have this part of my face covered. I can't sleep with my face on a blanket. I don't...
One of the most awful projects I ever had to do in high school was a mask. We actually had to get, like, the Vaseline, the plaster, and I didn't like it. That was awful.
my alter ego is Dr. Ood. You can't breathe in that latex prison, and damn it, I held it. Oh god, taking that thing off at the end of the day because it's like the sweat has nowhere to go. It's just like it's like peeling off your face.
Too many different things touching me. There's the sweat, and then there's the clammy in the mask. Nope. Nope.
I stood in that Matt Smith lineup forever in that mask. I had to take it off eventually because it was going to be like another 3 hours before I could see him. But yeah, I'm a rock star. But I also do theater bound, so I have like half the air intake as the other actors. So, you know, I learned to cope with being in constrained conditions.
Just don't touch me.
I snuggle right up to you and you know it.
Yeah, but you're okay.
I'm harmless.
And boundaries break down eventually. We've known each other how many years?
Yeah, if someone's latching onto your purse and you know I'm around, you know it's just me.
That's how we used to get through hallways in high school.
Because we had such a huge high school population, and the square didn't make a full square. Yeah, you couldn't go. I seriously remember a class change, and everyone got stuck. Like, no one could move because there were so many of us trying to turn this corner. Like, we were just all standing there. We're like,
I think that's why I'm so good at getting through crowds, because I was the smallest, so I was always at the front, and then you all would just grab on, and I would just like...
It was the human taxi service. That's the only way you could get through that school, because for some reason, people didn't think that being able to make a full circle would be useful when the two sides going on the classes have to converge to get to the other side. Like, stupid design.
Yeah, there's a high school
staff room on the 3rd floor. All right. Anything else?
Related but not related tangents tonight. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes.
That's okay. I'm waiting for more Q&A, and then...
Do you want more Q&A?
I was going to say, I didn't answer the last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't even remember what the last question was.
Which piece of text would be...
Oh, right, because I was talking while Julianne was gone.
Yeah.
I would pick, and I'm sure that I will butcher his last name, but I would pick a poem that's actually originally in Russian. Obviously, I have not read the Russian original because I can't read Russian.
You're such a fake. I said you're such a fake. Kidding.
But I have read the English translation, and the poem is called Silentium. And it's by, I'm going to butcher his last name, but something to the tune of Tyochev. And it is absolutely beautiful. And it is basically about how the thoughts in your mind, once you speak them, they're not the same. And once you share them, they're not the same. So basically to appreciate the silence and just being you in your own mind. And I really like that one.
That's really, it kind of takes me back to what Ashley was saying about how it depends on her mood at the time. And I was listening to something, and they were talking about, like, you know how we always say, if I ever get amnesia, bring me all the Harry Potter books? So they were talking about that, like, if you had the choice, like, you would remember everything, but you would just forget everything you've read. Would you do it? So you could reread everything. And I thought about it, and, like, there's a part of me I mean, if I get amnesia, I get amnesia. So bring me all the Harry Potter books. But I don't know if I would choose it, because as much as I want to relive that first read,
It might be different now.
yeah, if I have all of my other memories still, it's been, what, 15 or so years since I read the first one the first time? It's going to be completely different. I'm not going to be waiting for my owl on my birthday. We've all done it.
Yep.
I didn't read them till university, so no. I went to university level Hogwarts. I got the next round.
Okay, yeah, see, I've got the background. Nope.
Yeah, I think I was. I want to say 9.
Yeah, I was
9 or
10.
10. 9 or 10 when I started reading them.
So, yeah, 15, 16 years. And same with a lot of my favorite books. I read them all years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's with my Goodreads account. I haven't backtracked anything because I'm a goldfish, right? And if I'm going to leave a review for something, I want to remember why I like it like that. And so I've totally just reset things. And I know there are books I loved, earlier on, but there's so many things that I know I want to read again. And I'm not opposed to rereading, which I am continuously shocked at how many people are anti-reread.
Yeah, that I don't get.
And that was an argument we had with moving, because most of the books I brought were books that I've read, because I had to cut back so much. I'm like, well, I don't want to bring books. It's like, am I actually going to read these?
You want to bring the books you know you already love.
Yeah, that I know I'm going to reread because I love them. And then I've been pleasantly surprised with the majority of the ones that I brought that I haven't read, so that's been nice. But
Random interjection. Do you have Hawk Song, or did you give that one back to me? I don't remember.
Yeah, I have Hawk Song.
Okay, I knew there was one that had ended up going with you, and I couldn't remember which one. And
Name of the Wind and
and Name of the Wind. Okay.
Forest for the Trees.
Oh my gosh, there's 3 of them. Okay. My books went on an adventure without me.
It's like the Sisters of the Traveling Pants. Without pants.
I was going to say Bilbo, but yours was much more apt. I have pants.
Good.
They're not magical.
It shouldn't be a pantsless adventure, but it's just not an adventure about pants. Okay.
Yeah.
Which this conversation in the UK would be amazing. Someone in the UK has just tuned in and they're like, wait, what are these girls talking about?
Can I just tangent for a minute to how many times I've said toque to people in the last month and everyone looks at me like I'm insane? And it takes me a minute and I'm like, it's a toque. And they're like, what? I'm like, a toque? It's a beanie. It's a beanie.
No, I hate that. I was trying to remember what the word was, and no, it's not.
I say
Oh,
knit. I say a knit because I don't like it. I'm like, it's a toque. Toque.
Mm-hmm.
And then they look at me like I'm really insane. Language.
There's nothing wrong with perpetuating Canadianisms.
No. I know, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And yet they always say a boot to me.
It's like they think we're all newfies.
That's what I keep saying. I'm like, not in my part of Canada.
Look at Canada and look at Newfoundland, little tiny Newfoundland. But it's all those American stereotype perpetuated things. Told you last time I was in London and they're like, oh, you're like from How I Met Your Mother. Say a boot. And I'm like, okay, first off, How I Met Your Mother is American, so thank you for that.
If you're talking about the footwear, sure. A boot. So
But they know we're offended at being compared to Americans, which is hilarious. They're like, so you're from America? And I'm like, no, Canadian. They're like, I am so sorry. I did not mean to say that.
I've gotten that a lot.
It's like, well, at least you understand we're not the same and we don't appreciate the comparison.
I've gotten that a lot, but apparently... So I don't get all the cold stereotypes here, because of course Sweden is also very, very cold.
You are among your brethren.
Yes, there's a lot of similarities, but the two... I can't remember, one of the stereotypes is a typical one. And the other one is that we never lock our doors.
Because we're so friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so safe. And I was like, I lock my door.
My favorite... Okay, being in Italy, we walked into a shop and held the door open for the people coming out. Shop owner looks over and they said, Canadian or Australian? We hadn't even said anything. We just held the door open for them. They're like, Canadian or Australian? I'm like, Canadian? Hi.
See, not a lot of them know that the apologizing thing is a stereotype. That's pretty accurate, at least in my case. And
I was even talking to people about that, about how often we say sorry. You run into a chair and you apologize to the chair. You're like, I'm so sorry.
Well, and even if I don't do what they say, I go, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Instead of excuse me. And so I had some customers, and I was talking to them, and I kept on, they're like, stop being so polite and trying to make everyone happy. And I'm Canadian. They're like, oh, okay.
We're just born that way.
Like, I can't help it. Stop being so polite.
And then you say you're sorry for making them feel uncomfortable because you say sorry. You're like, stop saying sorry. You're like, I'm sorry. They're like, no, stop it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ah, this vicious cycle.
Some stereotypes exist for a reason. I'm sorry.
How to keep a Canadian in a loop for hours on end. Sorry. I'm sorry. You think it's an exaggeration, but it's not. This happens.
It's so true.
And then you bow your head in shame and just walk away. Poor guy at the movie theater. God. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm foreign. He's just laughing at me.
Someone says something to me in Swedish, and if it gets to a point where I don't understand them, instead of saying, I don't know that much Swedish, or could you speak in English, I go, I'm sorry, I don't speak Swedish. It's always, I'm sorry, English, please. I'm sorry.
We take the blame for everything, even when we shouldn't.
Blame Canada.
Right? And we're not even upset about that. We're like, yes, recognition! Someone acknowledged us!
I told you guys about that Craig Ferguson joke he made, that you can only make fun of Canadians and Nazis because Canadians are so glad to be
acknowledged.
But also,
they're just glad to be thought of.
Well, he says, Canadians, it's A, they're glad to be acknowledged, everyone laughs. He goes, also, they get it's a joke. And they're like, yeah, both are probably true. Especially when they're not igloo jokes, because the igloo jokes are just...
I haven't heard one in a very long time. I think that's died out.
That's good.
Global warming.
Well, no, they still think we have nothing. They're still, they still wonder how much electricity we get. I met this guy from California, and we were in Vancouver, so clearly he knows Vancouver. And I was telling him, where I'm from, it's you get in a car, drive 8 hours north, and that's where I'm from. And he's like, people live up there? I'm like, well, clearly it's not as big as Vancouver, we're about 85,000 people. And he just stared at me. He's like, that's more people than live in my town. I'm like, okay.
And then there's a problem. And then you hit Santa Claus.
Who may or may not be black.
But he lives in Canada, because that's where the North Pole is. We know that one.
Postal code
OHO.
Canada.
Anyway,
We were talking about a book at some point.
How did we get to
But we came full circle. We're back to Black Santa.
yeah.
Okay? I single-handedly saved this conversation.
I'm sorry.
Here we go again.
So, okay. This comment is made kind of twice, but in different ways, and I didn't realize it until I was writing out what I'd flagged. So, one is, I think it's Q, and the other one's radar, and I can't remember which is which, but I think the first one's Q is, in the end, the listening exposes you even more than it exposes the person you're trying to listen to.
I totally have that somewhere.
Yeah, and then radar says about 40 pages later, in the end it reveals a lot more about the person doing the imagining than it does about the people being imagined, which is about the gigolo game.
Yeah. You listen to the people so that you can imagine them, and you hear all the terrible and wonderful things people do to themselves and to one another. But in the end, the listening exposes you even more than it exposes the people you're trying to listen to. Mm-hmm. Page 216. 16, yeah.
And then you have
that was one I noticed.
Is the imagining, but same thing.
Yeah.
So, and then I didn't even realize when I was reading it that it was the same point being made, but both times I flagged it, and then when I was going back, I was like, oh, well, clearly this affected me both times. So.
Yeah. It's true, and I think that's another joy of the introvert, right? Because we are the listeners.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I mean, on the one hand, we're the listeners, but on the other hand, as it says, it reveals more about us. Mm-hmm. But of course, if we're only listening, it just reveals who's it revealing it to.
Yeah.
Ourselves.
Ourselves. But then sometimes...
I was taking it as rhetorical, but...
yeah, no, both. You're both right. But like with the Gigolo game, you know, they're both saying these completely different stories. I know that. I get the straight face, and then I look down and see this little laughing Ashley icon.
I have an award about this, okay?
I know you do. But they're both like saying completely different things, and that's when he says, like, I guess it reveals more about the person.
Yeah, because it's their interpretation of how people live their lives, and also like what levels and depths you go to, right? Just looking at people's humors and
yeah,
right. Who's paying attention to the clearly she's a Latina stereotype versus look at the wedding finger and what that means. And
that's the thing, right? Like, you know, it's like it's the little detail. This happened to me the other night, actually. This group of drunk 20-somethings were in, and one of them was like, I don't know, between the language barrier and the alcohol barrier, I don't know if he was inviting me onto this Swedish dating website so he could hook up with me or just out of curiosity. He's like, oh, do you use it? You shouldn't use it. You don't need it. And his friend's like, dude, she's married. Look at the ring. Because I'm sitting there like this. I'm like, uh-huh. This is like, dude.
Do you know what? Okay, I think I've told you this. So on the train, there's always a creeper on the train. No matter, it doesn't matter when. There's always going to be a creeper on the train. And so he's like seriously going down the aisles, just like hitting on every girl he comes across. Creeper on the train. And I was like, no, married. And he's like, but are you really, or you just wear that to keep the guys away? It's like, I mean, either way, your odds aren't good.
I mean, I'm really married, but...
The answer is no. Yeah, I am actually, but in both scenarios, go away.
Yeah.
Oh.
But, I mean, was it Q who noticed the wedding ring? Because kudos. I don't think I would have noticed that from another vehicle. I mean, it would have to be really heavy traffic, like you're not moving at all for hours for me to
Yeah,
I also
it was
then again.
Humor Radar.
Yeah, well, it was one of them, but I can't remember which. I am also the kind of person who like purposely tries not to look in other people's cars because I feel like a
Invasion
weirdo.
of privacy.
Yeah. But then you see someone else staring into your vehicle, and you're like, ew.
It's weird enough when they're just like, doing the shoulder check to,
Yeah.
see what's there, and you're like, it's a human person. What are you doing?
But like when it's slow traffic and
Supposed
they're
to
just like
acknowledge that we have now locked eyes. I don't know. Look away.
car etiquette, you never know. You play the Gigolo game. Apparently.
And I love that's what it's called.
I can't remember the proper name, so I'm just calling it the Gigolo game.
No.
Is it named? Who's that Gigolo? Name that Gigolo?
That guy is a gigolo.
That guy is a Gigolo.
That's what it's called. We don't actually meet the guy who is the gigolo while they play the game. That's just what it's called.
That guy's a Gigolo. I think that guy's a Gigolo. I mean, if anyone's a
I love
Gigolo.
this game. I love that and the metaphysical I spy.
Yes. Oh, metaphysical.
What sucks? Being trapped in this car with you.
I would be so existential about it. Just to be annoying.
Uh-huh.
What isn't in this vehicle?
Hope.
Yeah, and then, like, I think you learn a lot about people based on what they say.
Again, another really fun thing, reading for the banter and the witty comments, and they're full of it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come up with these games, and they're amazing. Next road trip, playing both of these games. Metaphysical I spy for when you're like on a highway and there aren't very many cars. That guy's a gigolo when you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah. What you looking for?
Gonna start tuning into soccer stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's probably in there. Or on the bed. Okay. My life is chaos.
Whose isn't?
I know, right? Also, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like this is necessarily true. But page 86. Nothing is as boring as other people's dreams. Now, see, I think that depends on the kind of dreams you've had, because I've had this conversation with Kevin, where he'll say, I had a weird dream last night. I'm like, oh, me too. And he's like, you go first. So I go on this big, elaborate, detailed thing. He's like, and he just looks at me like, seriously? That was your dream? That's crazy. And then his crazy dream was like, to me, was like, that's an average dream. I think it depends on.
I'm, again, usually a goldfish. By the time I wake up, I have no idea. And then sometimes it's, like, really ridiculous. Like, I still remember, like, really odd dreams from, like, when I was a kid. Probably because I keep telling people about them, so
Yeah.
that's the reason I remember. There's, like, some really awkward stuff.
Yeah, mine are full of. There was a time where we had the party at the haunted house, and then the paper crane arrived, and like.
I get dream redos. Like, so you've done something once, and you know you've done it once, and then you get to do it again, but for some reason things are in the way, not letting you do it, and you're like, no, Kate, that's not how it goes.
Mine's different. I try to change them, and it won't let me, and I get upset because I don't like the way it ends.
Weird loops. Okay.
My teeth fall out.
I hate those.
I know mine's because I grind my teeth in my sleep. So here's my fear. You guys fear spiders. One of my biggest fears is my teeth falling out. Mostly because of the nice nightmares, and I had one just the other night. I forgot to sleep with my night guard in because I got home so late and I was so tired. So I grind my teeth, and then in your head it's falling out. And one fell out and I couldn't get it back in because it didn't have roots for some reason, and I was like trying to get to the dentist, but they only spoke Swedish. I'm trying to show them I have this tooth and I'm trying to put it back in, and I remember in the back of my head to keep it, preserve it, under your tongue, under your tongue. So I'm trying to talk to them with the tooth under my tongue. FYI, if a tooth falls out and you can't, try to put it back in. If you can't put it back in, milk or under the tongue. That's how much I'm afraid of losing my teeth. I have researched.
You've researched it. In the worst case scenario, what do I do?
What to do until you get to the dentist. See, it's legitimately one of my fears.
I'll stick with my ooey spiders.
I prefer spiders. Anytime something feels slightly off, I'm like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
I'm going to start reading stuff.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Because we mentioned this, and clearly, if you're watching this, you should have read the book. But this was it's my first tag. My first burst out laughing. I remembered the first time I visited. I was maybe 13. It was spring, many months past Christmas, and yet black Santas lined the windowsills. Paper cutouts of black Santas hung from the stairway banister. Black Santa candles adorned the dining room table. A black Santa oil painting hung above the mantel, which was itself lined with black Santa figurines. They had a black Santa Pez dispenser purchased from Namibia. The light-up plastic black Santa that stood in their postage stamp front yard from Thanksgiving to New Year's spent the rest of the year proudly keeping watch in the corner of the guest bathroom. A bathroom with homemade black Santa wallpaper created with paint and a Santa-shaped sponge in every room save Radar's. Their home was awash in black Santadom. Plaster and plastic and marble and clay and wood and resin and cloth. In total, Radar's parents owned more than 1,200 black Santas of various sorts. You just gotta tell her, man, I said. You just gotta say, Angela, I really like you, but there's something you need to know when we go to my house and hook up. We'll be watched by the 2,400 eyes of 1,200 black Santas. The best! The best!
But I love leading up to that. You're like, I think you don't know, right? Until he completely just melts down and shouts, I cannot better my parents have the world's largest collection of black
It's not
Santas.
my fault that my parents own the world's largest collection of black Santas.
Okay, why
And Super
why
Bowl.
can't he take? Yeah, but you just wonder, like, why can't he take her home? Like, what's going on? And he's like,
Family's just protective. Yeah, good call, man. Good call. Good call.
you're like, so you're thinking it's something like really, really terrible, and you're like, oh my god, like poor Ray, like, why can't I don't understand. You're expecting something really awful, and then you just
Collection of black Santas.
It's not my fault. And like, and they're trying to buy it. Like, my parents have to leave town because the guy who owned the second largest collection of black Santas died, and they're trying to buy it up at the auction. Like,
So that's my first flag.
I pointedly ignore this if someone points to my books, for instance, but I always wonder, how much money do you spend on these kinds of collections?
I think when it comes to it, money's no object.
What was that, sweetie?
Just think about how much my collection of cards is.
I don't want to think about how much your collection of cards is worth.
That's the answer right there.
But that's the thing, is like, look, because he's asked me, and I kind of look at them and I'm like, well, I mean, some of them were on sale and some of them were brand new, so let's say on average X amount of money times how many books. And it's like, math.
Now, I'm not sure what you're supposed to say to the checkout woman at 12:30 in the morning when you put 13 pounds of catfish, Veet, the Fat Daddy-sized tub of Vaseline, a 6-pack of Mountain Dew, a can of blue spray paint, and a dozen tulips on the conveyor belt. But here's what I said. This isn't as weird as it looks. The woman cleared her throat but didn't look up. Still weird, she muttered.
See, anytime I've worked at a checkout, I just try to ignore what people buy. Like, I just scan.
I often wonder, like, especially like the people who like work at Shoppers or London Drugs, like the pharmacies, like, because there's like really personal items,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, how much do you have to clear your mind and be like, this dude needs 28 boxes of condoms?
Well,
Okay.
I was at the dollar store, and like I just didn't pay attention, but there was a girl who always would try to guess, so it'd be obvious like they came up with $80 worth of tiki party stuff. You having a luau barbecue something? Yeah, okay. But then sometimes they come up, or like, craft stuff, obviously, but sometimes they would come up with the weirdest mix, and then, I mean, I didn't pay attention because for me it's like, dollar store. All the cheap basics, which means I'm going to have a mix of craft stuff and Q-tips and cotton balls. But on the other hand, someone would buy a $2 pregnancy test, and they'd be like, really? Don't you maybe want to spend a little bit more on that? Might not.
I'm not her brother, I said, looking at the guy's sneakers, and then Margot proceeded to lie. He's actually my cousin. And my lover. You really are my favorite cousin, I told her. Okay. Becca Errington, page 38. She may be hot, but she's also 1, aggressively vapid, and 2, an absolute unadulterated raging bitch. Those of us who frequent the band room have long suspected that Becca maintains her lovely figure by eating nothing but the souls of kittens and the dreams of impoverished children. Love it. See, this is what I read the book for. I went from awesome quote to awesome quote to awesome quote.
There's a lot of them. See, and I feel like I flagged, there were so many awesome quotes that I flagged all the, like, profound stuff.
This is the one I tweeted. It's a penis, in the same sense that Rhode Island is a state. It may have an illustrious history, but it sure isn't big. Lost it when I got, and I was still reading, waiting for Matt in class, so I just burst out laughing because of the Black Santas, and then I got to this, and I'm crying. I'm just like, oh my god!
Amazing.
Best thing ever. I couldn't read past that point because I had to share it with everyone, and I had no means to, so I'm like, get out of class, I have to show you this book.
Why you need a smartphone.
Yes, I'm technologically impaired. But I am not a disconnected human being. I go out with people and talk to people and not to texting. So I think I am contributing properly to society.
Yeah, I don't text much.
Not my pompous self.
It costs too much.
That one's not that awesome. It's a nice one, but it's not that awesome. Oh my god! Oh, where's the follow-up one? Yes. Okay. Do we have to do a bleep warning? Cover your ears for the inappropriateness, children. So she's just got Q involved in this. This is about bringing down the fucking rain, right? So she's established that, and I just love the repeat that comes back, because 2 pages away from each other. Page 49. Just, couldn't you have just left it in his car, or at least at the doorstep? We bring the fucking rain, Q, not the scattered showers! God.
I feel like I would be cute. I'm like, can't we just leave it at the door and like walk away?
But I could just picture like that on a pin, that turn. Like, no, that's all we do.
Not the showers.
Okay, this isn't a haha tee burst out laughing one, but I actually really like this one. I tagged it in purple because I actually quite like this. You can't divorce Margot the person from Margot the body. You can't see one without seeing the other. You looked at Margot's eyes, and you saw both their blueness and their Margot-ness. In the end, you could not say that Margot Roth-Spiegelman was fat, or that she was skinny, any more than you can say the Eiffel Tower is or is not lonely. Margot's beauty is the kind of sealed vessel of perfection, uncracked and uncrackable. I actually really like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of really nice ones in there too.
Well, it's just, I think especially because, you know, we do get objectified as women all the time. I mean, I am totally insecure and self-conscious about who I am
And
how
you
I
know,
look.
a lot of people are, right?
I think we all are. And so, even though this has nothing to do with me, there's kind of that little affirmation there, right, about not being able to divorce the person from the body as not, it's not purely based on what they look like, but who they are is so attributed to how you see them.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not about how big is she, how skinny is she, how gorgeous is she. It's about how much you love that person and how much you are in awe of that person that makes them that attractive to you, right? So I really like that.
People as an entity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which I probably like because I'm so self-conscious of it. If I thought I was drop dead gorgeous, I'd be like, yeah, so what? But okay. Because I was just in Orlando. Clearly did not spend much time downtown. And I do not recall this asparagus. The Jolly Green Giant's gigantic Jolly Green phallus. I feel
You
like
missed out.
I missed out. I was in Orlando and I could have witnessed this thing. I'm like, I was just there. Where is this gigantic Jolly Green phallus? Oh.
This thing.
I just because I was just there and I'm like, wow. I feel like that should have been, memorable. Historically, Germany has had more enemies than Luxembourg. Margot Roth-Spiegelman was Germany, and Great Britain, and the United States, and Tsarist Russia. Me, I'm Luxembourg, just sitting around, tending sheep, and yodeling. Aww. 61, where the girls weren't allowed to say no, and they made them say no. Aw, poor cute. Sorry, I'm just going through what I had. I'm not even on my list. I'm just on my tags.
Mm.
Okay, 213. The rules about kissing, because Ben's finally getting it on. Number 1, don't bite anything without permission. And 2, the human tongue is like wasabi. It's very powerful and should be used sparingly. Oh, and I think this is where that part I was talking about comes up. Is it? No, maybe not.
And there's so many opportunities where it could have come up.
No, that's not it, because that was just that's before he's being super creepy, because it was Lacey being creepy on that one. She's like, actually, I think Ben's tongue is like sunscreen. It's good for your health and should be applied liberally.
But it's kind of
I
funny.
just threw up in my mouth. The very idea is so offensive that it's actually illegal to say the words Ben Starling's tongue on television. The penalty for violating that law is either 10 years in prison or 1 Ben Starling's tongue bath. Everyone chooses prison.
They're so mean to him. I feel like that also gives you like a...
But the first half of the book, he totally has it coming, because he's coming up with all the inappropriate stuff.
But I'm just saying, it tells you a lot about the friendship there too, right? Like even more about it, that there's... Just saying.
Those are too sentimental. I'm trying to find my awesome ones.
Let's say I'm saving my last couple till you're done because they're not funny.
Okay, Ben in the car with his little lady bladder. 248. Just hold it like a man. Hold it like a Victorian lady holds onto her maidenhead. Hold it with dignity and grace like the President of the United States is supposed to hold the fate of the free world.
Just saying, in my road trips, there are no pit stops. You hold it. Ben isn't, or you get kicked out of the vehicle.
Okay. Oh, where's the other part of this? Yes. Okay. Perfect. So, because they were naked under their grad gowns, and that's all they have for this road trip, and they buy the shirts, and the shirt they buy for radar, the Confederate flag. Ben Starling, you had better not have bought your token black friend a racist shirt. Don't bro me right now. I hope I get pulled over. I'd like to see how the cop responds to a black man wearing a Confederate t-shirt over a black dress. There's my gigolo. Okay. What do we have on this page? That was my other tag. It was just the gigolo thing. Remind me to tweet that.
Doing it.
That's well adjusted. Bunnies. We already talked about the bunnies. Oh, not that I agree with this, but I do kind of like the commentary. Page 32. I'm a big believer in random capitalization. The rules of capitalization are so unfair to words in the middle.
But hey, he knew how it was Margot.
I think those are my big tee-hee ones. And I've got a few sentimental ones that, yeah. Any other favorites?
My book is sadly lacking in flags.
Mine are
not so good because I was reading it on the run and it just
yeah. Well, mine are not so tee-hee. I mean, there's the one where he's reading the Song of Myself a billion times and ends up saying, I'm reading it to understand Margot, not to try to understand Whitman. And I thought that was interesting. Because normally you're trying to understand the message from the author. But even then, like, if you have discussions, you know, in class, or even had this once with the professor, like, they tell you, no, this is what the poem is about. And like, well, that's your impression, which
it all comes back down to that Robert Frost discussion, right? Is it profound or is it just about the path in the park? Right.
But yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like, this is why, you know, so he was reading it to understand Margot, based on what she had highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can't understand Whitman by reading it. You understand your perception of it.
Oh, yeah. And that's how we understand anyway. And that's the whole thing, right? Even with people, right? You don't necessarily, you don't understand Margot. You understand her how you want to. Everyone sees her as this wild, crazy, what's she going to do next kind of girl. And no one sees the tortured her. Because they don't want to.
Well, and then what's one of my other notes, too, is kind of related to that, where he says, talking about Margot, it says it's someone who, because no one thought she was a person, had no one to talk to. It's all the perception.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was, this great adventurous entity that you don't... You know, when you hear about people like that, it's almost like the celebrity thing. They're not real people.
Mm. Oh, yeah, and look at the treatment of celebrities, right? It's so easy to bash them because they're not human. They live in TV land.
Yep. Yeah. And for Margot, because she wasn't, you know, like celebrities, you know, I presume have each other to relate to. They're all in that boat, but Margot didn't have anyone.
Well, she had her other popular girls that were just as reserved and quiet, or if not that, then at least didn't have the depth that she did. So
yeah, but so they couldn't talk to each other though because she was an even different.
That's also on Margot for not going there, right? Those were her choices. Like clearly, if she'd kept her friendship with Q, she would have had that genuine best friend watching her back.
Mm-hmm.
She
But definitely-
sacrificed that for the popular.
That definitely caught me was the one thing where it's like after they found that body, she basically like stood on the outside of the window and then closed the window, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why?
And then came back 10 years later to open it.
Yeah.
Margot made no sense.
No. She's totally all over the place. But, I mean, that was the other thing. Like, and we said this at the opening, right? You read it, and you do get a feel for these characters as characters,
Mm-hmm.
but still missing a lot to see these characters as people. Even though we're prying apart these different parts of Margot and Q and Ben Radar, it's still missing my attachment to them on a human level.
Yeah.
It's like watching a celebrity blog. Oh, they did that? That's cool. That was funny. That was witty. I'm glad I tweeted that celeb, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect my life.
Yeah, I feel like it was more about not the plot and not the characters, but maybe the idea.
And I feel like it was trying to be very profound. And even like the comment on it, right? It says it, profoundly moving. It's trying to be a big deal. And maybe if I were a teenager who was still trying to have my identity crisis, right? Because, I mean, where they are at graduation, like, that's a huge shift, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've been in grade school forever. You've had your world kind of sheltered for you, and all of a sudden it's, all right, there's the world. Go do something with it.
Yeah.
But, see, I was trying to get out, so I wasn't in this like crisis of what do I do with my life now. Like I don't know. I wasn't in a self-discovery phase. I was in a let's get this started phase. So I feel like maybe that's part of the reason I'm not connecting, because number one, I'm not a soul-searching teenager, and because I don't think I was much of one.
That's fair. Yeah, I feel like I was. So.
I had a plan at 14, and damn it, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, not so much. It wasn't...
I'm an anomaly. I make no sense.
Oh, no, Kevin had the plan since he was, like, 9. And that's what he's done, too. So, like, but I think for me, it was just kind of... I don't want to... And this wasn't even on my parents. It was just seeing what the rest of my family did, because, of course, I have siblings who are much older than me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, okay, so next step is university, and then a law degree, or teaching.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, so I didn't really think about it. But then, of course, because of that, there was other stuff I was struggling with. And I think parts of that spoke to me, the part of me that was dealing with that.
Well, I think you're still doing a lot of searching now, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm always searching. It's great. Always searching.
And I'm in the, so, I did everything according to plan. Now what?
Yeah. See, I know what I want is getting it. But then again, not 100% sure. It's very...
But even then, it's an interesting flip of the coin, too, because my sister definitely did the whole planning thing. Got what she wanted, and she literally right now is at a point where she's like, everything has already fallen into place. Way younger than I thought it would. What do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's not an issue, or that's not a problem that I'm going to have for quite a while.
Yeah. See, I'm the person who stopped having... I'm a planner, but I don't have a life plan. And my husband does. And he's fulfilled the stuff he wants to fulfill now. There's more to come, but that's like, 5 years or whatever. And then I'm the person who fills the in-between time being like, hey, let's move to another country. Let's just do it. Let's go. Let's do it. And then he looks at me like I'm insane, and then we do it.
I do both those things. I fill all the time.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Is like I'm
You're either coming along for the ride or I'm bulldozing over you. That's how it works.
I think to him sometimes I don't make sense, and I'm sure other people maybe, because I'm the everything. I don't like last minute plans. I think all my daily stuff has to be planned. So if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to get together right now?" I'm just like, "No."
Oh yeah, I
It
don't
doesn't
do
matter
that
if I'm
either.
free.
I've had to get better at that because
Yeah.
that's apparently not a good thing for me. So I'm much more open now to the, by the way, we're having people over today. By the way, we're going out with these people today. Okay.
Yeah, I get better, but I still don't like to do it, and I still have like I still get that like I do it, but I still get that feeling of like, no, I'm not prepared for this. But on the other hand, I'll say, hey, let's go to Japan for 3 weeks. Yeah, okay. Hey, let's go buy a cat today.
Did you get it? Oh, we can talk about that after.
No, that was when we got Sheriff. We move in together next day. Let's go look at cats. Bring a cat home.
I got 6 months before we got the dog.
No,
When we moved into the actual house, not the basement.
It literally took a day. So that.
Making big life decisions on the fly.
I told him. I said when we move in, we're getting a cat. So so we have to get a place where we love cats, and we were. So I was like, great, let's go look at cats. And we were allowed to take him home that day, so we did.
It took some convincing to get the dog. But I had to find the right dog. We waited.
Was I talking about you? He's terrifying. There's just these big eyes looking at me over the edge of the table. I think I'm flailing too much. He sees, yep, that's it.
Attack!
Movement, toy. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this is something that when I was a teenager, I would have totally.
Would have spoken to you.
Oh, yeah. And it still, on certain levels, speaks to me, too, and that's why I think a lot of my stuff is the more profound than the hilarious, because there was so much funny stuff, like, for sure. I laughed out loud a lot, but there was, especially, like, if it gets to the end, like, when he finds Margot and realizes, like, she didn't want to be found and is now coming to terms that even he, after all his research, didn't know who she was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, 282 says, what a treacherous thing it is to believe that a person is more than a person. Because he realizes that even he had made Margot into something else.
It's also kind of tragic. I mean, when you clearly see how different they are, and long term probably wouldn't work out, but that moment of realization of, yeah, he's in love with her, but at the end of the day, that's not who he is, and she can't. They don't fit in each other's world.
No.
And it's sad, but it's just that moment of, after all you've done, clearly being in love with her, wanting to make sure everything's okay, you're just at this crossroad of, it can't ever be more than this.
Yeah, and she's just like, okay, bye.
Which I think is a fairly mature realization.
It is, and then when it ends with them saying bye, it's like, I don't know. It's like one of the last lines. Maybe it is the last line.
It's definitely up there.
It's it's like the last paragraph of the second last chunk, so there's like a little bit after, where they're like, hey, I'll see you, maybe, we can write to each other, emails, whatever. Everyone does, like, yeah, we'll grab coffee sometime. And
it never happens.
Yeah, it's page 304, and he says, it is saying these things that keeps us from falling apart. And maybe by imagining these features, we can make them real, and maybe not. But either way, we must imagine them.
The light rushes out and floods in.
Yeah. Really, yep. Understand that. Because, I mean, even as adults, I'm sure we do that. There are people that you constantly say, yeah.
I feel like a horrible person for how little I keep in contact with people.
But you know what it comes down to, too, and it's really hard, and the conversation I had with Kevin is, the sincerity behind it, and of course you don't necessarily know what how sincere they're being when they say, yeah, we'll grab coffee, yeah, we'll keep in touch, because I know you're the kind of person, at least with some people, that you mean it when you say it, but some people are just not good at making plans to grab coffee or keeping in touch.
My thing comes back to the self-consciousness, because I always feel like I'm like invasive of other people's time. Like,
Yeah.
so rather than interrupt you in your life and whatever you have going on, I'll just like hang out back here and you'll let me know when you want to see me, and if you don't, that's cool. Rather than, you know, and especially having a lot of other introvert friends who are probably doing the exact same things.
Yes,
We just
well,
hide
that's
in
the thing, right?
corners and we're like, hello, are we still friends?
And you wonder that, like, you're like, so A, how sincere were they? B, maybe you both were sincere, but you both feel really awkward about it. Or maybe one of you was sincere and the other one wasn't, and then that gets awkward if they actually follow through. Like,
I still get surprised when like people I used to work with or go to school with like remember my name. Like, you actually knew who I was? You remember me?
yeah.
They're like, yeah. Why would that? Because I feel like I'm so small and invisible all of the time.
And I do too, yeah. So you have that where, like, you have to introduce yourself to someone like 8 times, and you're like, we've met before. And then there are other times where someone just remembers you, and you're like, oh, great. Hi, friend.
Someone is totally psychoanalyzing this, or if not right now, then sometime in the future, because this is preserved forever. Someone's book is going to sell big. They're going to stumble upon this and be like, huh, these people have some serious issues. Have they considered therapy? That's why we talk to each other publicly on the internet.
Yes, and I just have to
And write about it.
To Jen, and I haven't read the whole thing, I'm assuming Marta, yes, we keep in touch, and I love you too.
Are they watching?
Wait, I can probably just check it on here.
I wasn't sure if they were texting you in response. I'm like, we love you.
Yes, they are in response, but they're not right now, really. Yes, I'm reading your tweet online, as they're probably like, ah, no, you get the shout out because you're amazing. Yay. And then, yeah, there's the people that you actually keep in touch with. My long distance life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the hardest part about our age group, I think, is all the travel. Like, if you look at it, so I moved away from my hometown, went to high school with you, and then went to university. The only reason you and I even talk to each other is because you happen to come join me at my university. Right? And I went to England, made a bunch of friends there, but then, they went on with their schooling, and I went on and got married. Even when just after going to England, when I stayed back in my hometown, did the theater group there, made a bunch of friends with that. But I'm so all over the place. So I make these pockets, and then I leave. I'm not good at that.
Yeah. But it goes both ways. Because
everyone else moves around too, right? And they're all over the place, and life
yeah,
happens.
Well, I'm just saying, life happens. Everyone gets busy, and sometimes you won't talk to people for ages, and then you'll talk, or you can talk to people all the time, or at least once a month.
Love it when you realize you can totally pick right back up where you left off. It's like, so we haven't talked to each other in like 3 years. Nothing has changed. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. And then, but
I think that's the mark of a true friendship, when you can, like, things, you don't connect for a while because life is crazy, and then you connect and just fall right back into place. That's, I think, is a sign.
Well, and back to I got tweeted at, and that's the thing, is like, social media on the one hand can be really annoying, but on the other, especially being with the time difference, is that we'll sometimes like tweet, tweet things at each other or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, little comments or something, because it's hard to call and actually talk.
Yeah.
So there's that. But again, it goes both ways. So they say, we're just saying these things. But if they actually both want to, it just takes one person to actually instigate it. But if neither, unfortunately,
How much it means to them, right?
Yeah, but unfortunately, also, as you were saying, Ashley, if you both feel super awkward about it, if no one does it, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
That's just the unfortunate truth. Either because you both don't want to, or someone feels awkward. If no one says anything, it's just...
I'm just awkward.
I'm just awkward. Yeah. I'm usually just awkward. I'll, type out these big, long, things and be like, no, delete. Delete. That's amazing.
All the tweets.
Sorry, I'm getting more messages. My friends are awesome. Yay, viewers! And we're all awkward.
Yep.
That's why we're friends. Let's be honest now.
Yes, it's true.
Any other Paper Town comments, quotes, observations?
No. I'm doing
Any
multiple
other
tasks, sorry.
awards aside from the ones that I've put up that need to
Yours were
go
so
in there?
apropos. Is that the word I want? Apt. Appropriate. All those A words.
Contemplating words beginning with the letter A.
Ashley. Agog. Aragog. Aragog.
Yes, this is again why we're friends. Because I totally jumped to the same thing as soon as you said Agog. I'm like, Aragog? I'm not even the biggest Potterhead out there.
It's nighttime where I am. I'm too tired.
Sorry. So I'll move on to awards then?
Sure.
Okay. So I put up a author award for The Zinger King because of all the one-liners. Yeah, not the most in-depth writing I've ever come across, but I was definitely continuing to read just because I wanted to see what the next witty commentary was going to be. Thoughts?
Sure. No, I thought your awards were pretty accurate, so.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one.
Agree to all.
I'm still gonna say the last. I've already mentioned this one. The Creative Card Games Award, because Metaphysical I Spy and That Guy's a Gigolo is amazing, and as I said, it should all become household names for card games.
Yeah.
I wanted to come up with something for the Black Santas, but it was just, I think that just all goes into the zinger, because it was
I wanted to as well.
Everything.
Best choice of random collection.
But it's so obscure, right?
That's what I mean.
And it's not even just about that's what it's the whole thing on how it's handled and how it's so awkward because he wants to bring a girl home, so he can make out with her. But there are Santas everywhere.
The 2,400 Pairs of Eyes Award.
Yes.
Oh. Creepiest hookup.
But the hookup didn't actually happen. She finally met his parents, but we don't know that they actually made out under those 24 eyes.
Most obscure and creepy reason not to bring a girl home?
Best reason not to bring a girl home. Oh, Okay, I think I'm adding both of those. And what was it? The 24.
I said 2,400 pairs, but it wasn't. It was 1,200 pairs. So it would either be 2,400 eyes or 1,200 pairs of eyes.
2,400 eyes.
Was there anything else to that award? Just the 1,200 pairs of eyes award.
Most eyes in one book. There's at least 2,400 plus all of the characters.
All right, 2 new awards. And remember, viewers, you can nominate things for awards too, so it's not just the 3 of us trying to be clever, because it's really hard to be this clever.
As they're watching the thought process.
Blank. Yeah, I came up with catastrophe. That's my cleverness used up for today.
I made an erection joke and Ashley didn't even catch it, so.
What? When did this happen?
When you were just reading a quote about pervy Ben.
I never did find that quote. Where was that? Oh, I must not have. How did I not mark that? Because I did.
But you were reading, and I made a.
Yeah, but I didn't actually read that thing where simultaneously all women across America were. Where is that? How did I not mark this? I want to know what is what reaction to. Oh God! Someone help! Help! Help!
That's exactly what they say when Ben comes walking down the street.
I don't even know what section it's in.
Can't help you. I have no idea.
Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. So I just. Come on, Ben, where are you?
That we're all just.
Okay. It's somewhere on page 88. It's somewhere on page 88. Oh, okay, this is why, 'cause he's a freaking creeper. Oh, God. God. This is why I didn't mark it, 'cause he's a creep. Okay. He's like, I don't think I'm familiar with that word. It's the sound my mouth makes when I'm giving a honey bunny a patented Ben Starling speedboat. Right now, although they have no idea why, thousands of girls all across America are feeling a chill of fear and disgust run down their spines. Much deserved for any speedboating. Why is that a thing? Why is is there a single girl on the face of the planet that finds that flattering or arousing?
See, I have to suspend my belief to believe that he is still with Lacey. That long.
Yeah, he lucked out terribly because she was the super hot girl. He's the super awkward pervy dude, and then they're just getting it on all the time because he was a crazy party drunk.
Yeah.
And that's what sealed it.
Because everyone knows that's what you want in a guy. Creepy drunk.
Yeah, high school students don't make the best choices. Because they haven't gone bing yet. The machine that goes ping. Sorry. Monty Python reference. We got this.
See, that's not where my brain went.
Do you have that little machine that goes ping? Why, yeah, it's right over here. Oh, gosh. I'm just happy I found what that quote was related to because I did remember all the girls simultaneously getting a chill down their spine, and now I remember, and now that explains why. That would do. But that's the thing. You see, there's so many references to guys wanting to do the speedboat in the chest. And why? Why is this a thing?
You know, I don't know, to be perfectly honest.
Like, I get the burying of the face, but the raspberries, really? Really?
This is something that we don't get because we don't want to do it as straight women, for starters.
I just can't imagine what situation that's at all enjoyable or flattering.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Obscure boy fantasies.
Oh, so many. Like a game show topic.
Obscure boy fantasies for 500.
Yeah, gold bikini.
The slave bikini makes sense. So, yeah, that. But
I'm just saying it's.
But it's both because it's bikini and bound slave girl. Again, objectifying the women. A little feminist in me. Because you always want a woman chained up against her will.
And all of our viewers just stopped watching.
Yeah. All the boys are just like, and this got dull. Bring back the pants commentary. Oh, wait, no, that's too American. All the Brits. Why aren't they talking about pants? Take off the pants.
It's not that kind of show, guys.
Well,
Don't
honestly,
put on the parental control settings again.
well, we've already gone like beyond 2 hours, so if anyone's stuck on this long, like, good for you.
Thanks for watching our supreme awkwardness.
I think that's made this month's that much better.
Yes.
The real
awkward.
The exposed Curious Endeavourances.
Actually, stop baiting them.
Sorry?
I always go for the dirty joke.
I'm sure I can come up with some reason why we've gone wild before the end.
Because girls just want to have fun.
But not with speedboats.
I'm apologizing now because
that.
sometime in the last 10 minutes, my brain just was like, oh. Sleepy time. Actually, it's not really that late.
Oh my goodness.
Sleepies.
Why is Curious Endeavourances so long? Such a massive tag.
It's not my fault I didn't name it.
You sort of did.
you kind of.
But it was your suggestion.
Yeah.
Oh, it's technically Sheriff's fault for eating the cues in the first place.
I mean, yeah. Way to go, Sheriff.
Yeah.
I totally actually forgot. I was just remembering the other day that my first draft of Freak House actually has no cues in it because I joined that challenge with you. And I totally forgot about that. I'm like, oh, random trivia that someone could use someday. First draft, no cues.
Draft the Freak House, but actually, no.
Again, there was almost a question mark.
You know why?
There was an ellipses. I could hear the ellipses.
Sometimes I forget which name is the right name, and I don't want to say the wrong name.
I love you.
That's good. Oh my god, my eyes are running. Really
Alright, so that's it for awards?
Yeah. It looks like I'm crying. I'm really not crying, I swear.
I don't know. You could still be horrified by that image of the speedboating. I am.
Really? I mean, I'm not. I'm so jaded.
All right, so any other final comments or into ratings?
I think we're into ratings.
Ratings. Okay, so I think we all see it the same.
We did.
Yeah. 4.
Yeah. 4 across the board.
Mine, and then Julianne, you think back between some things were really awesome and you're like, yes, let's give this a 5. And for me, those moments happened with the car stuff. When they were in the car going somewhere, there were moments where I was like, this is the best. I want to keep reading. But then those lulls, and I'd be like, oh my, one of those moments of how many more pages is this, right? They're talking about things. Where's Margot? Where's Margot? We don't know what to do about Margot. And I'm like, I really don't care about Margot. Either find her in a ditch or don't. Let's move on.
Margot was like a catalyst for this great adventure, but who cares about Margot the person?
It's one of those things that like I don't think this is how I'm supposed to read this book. Of maybe she committed suicide. I really don't care. Like that's a really terrible thing, but it's kind of how I read it. So yeah, no, definitely agree. There were some points where I'm like, this is crap, and other points where I'm like, this is brilliant. So I'm kind of in like that 3.5 range. But I think if I had more profound connection along the way, like it ended, and I'm like, that's very sweet. Done, but it didn't connect me, and it's definitely not going to be something that I know I'm going to come running back to, must reread, must share. That was a cute adventure. There were some funny quips. My God, I'm never going to forget the Rhode Island penis connection. Like that's best thing ever. And Black Santas.
I will never look at Santa the same again.
No. So there's a lot of really awesome moments. But yeah, I went on the generous side for the Goodreads rating because you can't do things in halves. I think my actual rating would be 3.5 just because it was cute, but I don't think it's changing my life at all. But I give it the 4 on actual Goodreads. I'll give it the benefit of a doubt because it wasn't like looking at some things that I rate 3. It did have better writing moments because of the banter that I loved.
Yeah. I very much I honestly, I could just be like, copy, paste, what Ashley said.
Yeah, done.
Like, I had the exact same reaction where it was bouncing back and forth between like the awesome moments and the not so great moments, and same thing with 3.5 kind of being what I would use. I still lament the fact that Goodreads does not have a 0.5 system.
We will say this every time.
I know.
Well, they do overall for authors, but as a reader, it would be kind of nice to have a better average.
Yeah.
Man, I loved the wit and the witty quips and stuff like that. Plot, definitely had the same thing where I was like, I don't particularly actually care about Margot. I thought the rest of it was interesting. So, yeah, 3.5.
It's like they were too witty to be real. Because it was like watching sketch comedy instead of a TV drama.
That's a good point.
Because like you were talking like Big Bang Theory, yeah, I watch it, but I'm not like, must catch this week's episode of Big Bang Theory. Whereas it's like, I don't know, this week's episode of Game of Thrones or Downton or Rome or whatever the HBO thing that I've been obsessing over, right? It like must watch and can't like marathon through that stuff because I need to know what happens to these characters. Whereas Big Bang Theory, yeah, there's nothing else on. Let's do it. That's cute. And that's kind of how I felt about the characters. It's not, I need to know what happens to these people's lives. It's, let's just see what they're going to say next because it's going to be clever.
Yeah.
Caitlin?
Sorry. No, I was content with a 4, but as I said, I feel I had a bit more of a
connection,
a deeper, profounder. So,
you're allowed.
Yes, no, so, yeah. Yes, no.
You're not allowed, you must conform. Sheep, Caitlin, sheep.
I'm the Black Santa.
Black Santa sheep, yes. That's the visual image in my head right now. It's basically a sheep with a Santa hat, but I like it.
So take away from this month's Curious Endeavourances, Black Santa sheep. No, yeah, I was just content with the 4 because, yeah, I mean, it didn't. There were the plot lulls. I mean, when he was in that abandoned what's-its-face. I was just like,
Mhm.
where's the next clue? Find the next clue, please.
And you'd go to so many of those places, and it's like, this isn't it. It's
Well,
like,
because none of them were.
we
It
traveled
wasn't-
so far to get over there.
And then, yeah, but none of them were because he was going in the wrong direction. And I was just like, it's not right. Figure it out. But I mean, yeah, I think I had a bit more of a connection. It sounds like, so bumped it up to the full 4 for sure.
So yours is a genuine 4, and ours is just
Mine is a genuine.
fine, you can have it.
I would still highly recommend the Fault in Our Stars. That was very, very good. If you liked this in any degree, then definitely read The Fault in Our Stars, because that for me was like a 5.
So are you saying I should read it?
You should. And again,
Okay.
Tissues.
I cry during everything. I cry during commercials. So
Then you're definitely going to cry
Clearly.
during The Fault in Our Stars, because I don't cry during everything, and I couldn't put it down. I read it in one sitting. I went to bed at like 2 in the morning, and I came to bed, and Kevin was like, "Are you okay?" Because I was still just like weeping. Like, it's fine. It was just a book. It's okay. And I think he had to actually hold me because I was just like, I mean, for me too, it had a bit more of a personal connection that caused that, which, so, but still.
I'm just a sap. Matt has to hold me because they gave the old lady a Hallmark card. Matt just rolls his eyes. It's like, all right, come here.
Yeah, so
It's okay.
And with
They're
Kevin,
happy.
the opposite. Are you crying? Oh God, you're not okay.
Or because I finished a book that I really liked. I'm like, it's over. There's no more. It's like, oh my God.
We were reading the last Harry Potter book next to each other, but he got to start, like, he was like 2 pages ahead of me because I had to go to the bathroom or something when we got home from the store. And I'm like, I'm going to go first, that way I can just sit and read the whole thing. So I get in, and so he was like 2 pages ahead of me, at least for just like the first few chapters, because he had to work up like 6 in the morning. So, spoilers, if you haven't read the last Harry Potter book, warning, when Hedwig dies, he just is like, I'm like, what? He's like, nothing. And then he just watched, like, he would read, but keep watching me waiting because he knew I was going to, like, completely, like, lose it already.
I was kind of upset in the movie that Hedwig didn't get, like, the little spotlight that she was supposed to get.
Of Harry seeing her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It wasn't the same. It was just like, oh no.
Because, yeah, I mean, it is supposed to be obviously quick and other stuff is happening, like all the other stuff in the book. But still, in the book, there was the Hedwig.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's it. If we went to, this month's upcoming.
All right, so I'm skipping the line because I had a Halloween pick already out. For a thematic October, we are going to be reading Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Indiana, 1818. In a one-room cabin, 9-year-old Abraham Lincoln kneels at his mother's bedside. "My baby boy," she whispers before dying. Only later will the grieving Abe learn that his mother's fatal affliction was actually the work of a vampire. Gifted with his legendary height, strength, and skill with an axe, young Lincoln sets out on a path of vengeance that will lead him all the way to the White House. While Abraham Lincoln is widely lauded for saving the Union and freeing millions of slaves, his valiant fight against the forces of the undead has remained in the shadows for almost 200 years. So, kind of all in the same category of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. And
It's the same author.
the author does all of those little spin-off things. So some have been considered really great, others not so much. I haven't read this. Looking at different reviews, it's kind of all over the place. And I haven't started it, so I don't know what it is. This is my husband's book. You can see the tag. That's as far as he got into reading it. So I don't know what that says about it. I do read books faster than he does, so I mean, he put this down when he went on an army course and just never picked it back up. So we'll find out if he. Oh, maybe he didn't even get that far. There's another thing in here. I don't know. Do I go with the receipt or the plane ticket? Which one is it? Either way, he didn't make it to page 100. The furthest we could have possibly got was 65. I don't know if I'm going based on plane ticket or. I'm going to say the receipt because the plane ticket is just at the start of chapter 1.
Yeah. See, I always use plane tickets as bookmarks.
I didn't know there was a plane ticket in here. I saw the receipt, and then all of a sudden it's like, hello, okay. But that means he'd only got through the introduction. So I don't know. Either we made it to page 65 or we only made it to the introduction. I've seen the movie, and we have the movie. It rushes through a lot of things, so that's another part of my intrigue. I want to kind of fill in some of those gaps and linger in it a little bit more. I don't know. This could be a horrible, horrible disaster, or this could be thoroughly entertaining. I know the vampire thing's kind of old school. It's been done, but, I mean, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is kind of cute and clever, and so why not? I'm not big into American history. No idea.
I was thinking, I feel like I'm going to have to do research to know what.
Because supposedly there's they take historical documents and tweak them just like they did Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So I don't know how much of this is going to be how much of this is going to be lost on me, and how much I'm just going to go with, and how much I'm going to be completely butchering American history from this point forward. I mean, yeah, but then the vampire guy. No, actually, that's not actually what happened.
That there aren't vampires. But,
yeah, but he died because they were getting rid of this big boss, and no, that's not what happened. but I read it. It was real.
It was on the internet. It has to be true.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my pick. Maybe it'll just be horrific writing, and that's what'll scare us for Halloween. No idea. Brace yourselves. And we'll be meeting before Halloween.
Yeah.
Because Halloween's on the Friday, so you'll have a full week before actual Halloween.
25th. Nope. 26th. Sundays.
Sunday again,
Sunday.
right?
FYI, Sundays now. Sorry about that.
You're supposed to be following the Goodreads page anyway for these updates.
I changed the description for the whole group to say Sundays, so now you can't even get mad.
Join Goodreads. Follow our post. Add to the forums again. So it's not just the three of us going back and forth. I know we're lovely and we're clever. But
I did post these questions, not the collection one, but the other questions I asked you guys on there. So if anyone who's watching feels so inclined to go post their answers, let us know.
Did I see this?
It says there were 2 views, but I don't know.
I think I saw you posted it, and then I
But you hadn't read it yet.
Didn't come back to it. Yeah, because I wasn't there yet, and I didn't want to read through it until I read it, and then I
I
forgot.
specifically said for after you've read the book because, I mean, it's not majorly spoilery, but it's enough, with the Walt Whitman.
I should have just not checked it, because then my notice goes away, because it's like, oh, you've seen this, and then I'm a goldfish, and I'm like, what? What's happening? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem. There's illustrations! So just the picture. There's stuff in here with visuals, and maybe it's just the one. I found the one illustration.
What's the point?
I think it's just one. There's one illustration. Oh, no, 2. 2 illustrations.
You
Oh,
both
there's
have the
more.
book.
There's
I don't-
more. There's more.
I'm totally prepared.
It's crazy. Well, again, I've had this. The reason I picked this is because it's been sitting on the shelf for a long time, and I'm like, is Matt gonna finish reading it? Is he not reading it? I want to read it. I'm gonna move his bookmark. Crime against humanity, right there. First world problems. They moved my bookmark.
Oh, I would. I would not forgive you for that.
Yeah, but okay, let's look at this plane ticket. When did he get this? Doesn't even have a year on it. Damn it. Maybe the receipt does. Maybe the receipt has a year on it. Because we've had this in our house for a long time. Date. Date. No. How many receipts are in here? My God.
How many people are reading that book?
2012. June 2012. We've had this book in our house.
Over 2 years ago.
So I'm moving the bookmark. He doesn't watch these.
I love that moment.
He's not a very hands-on, so he's very supportive. But
yeah, no, same.
in the you go do that, honey.
Yeah, okay, have fun. I'm not gonna watch or read anything.
I know he's had Parrish for how long?
You have a blog?
Oh, he's never done. But the Pirates one, he's still never touched either. And that's been posted for how long? He's just like, I know it's there, but it's like 69 chapters, and I'll just assume it's good.
Yeah, I'm done with those notes. Go ahead and kill them. Thanks.
Murderous cat. Minion would be doing the same thing. He's just waiting impatiently for me to acknowledge him. Right?
Is there something under? There's something under there. That's why no one is getting letters from me.
I sent you a letter.
Don't eat that. Don't eat that. It's paper. Don't eat. No. Oh, I took it away. Okay. So, sorry. My children are so distracting.
The fur baby and the man baby.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. So that's our
dog between the legs. He was kind of lying down, then he sat up like just. And I'm in a spinny chair. It's not helpful because now I'm a little more this way.
Oh,
hi.
Oh, you're stuck. Okay. It's chaos now. It's fully chaos.
It's okay. We're near the end.
Yeah.
Farewell, everyone.
So, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter by Seth Graham Smith?
Yes.
I totally knew that.
Yes.
I don't even have the book. But,
my dog is breaking my leg.
Okay, so
I'm in the most awkward position. I might spin backwards now. So he fell down. It's okay.
I know that loving note. After this extremely awkward and honest
revealing
episode of Curious Endeavourances.
And one of our longest ones, like
in a long time.
Without too much technical difficulty.
Without technical, and with the least amount of tangents, though, which is weird.
I don't know.
No, I mean the tangents were kind of related.
They were just personal.
Yeah, they weren't as spazzy.
I think they were just more appropriate for this time round.
Yeah, exactly.
They usually are. Like one of the books we were reading, we're like, so we're done talking about the book. What are we going to do for the next hour? Let's just talk about stuff.
Yes. Okay. So check out links. I will post them when I can. And read the next book. And October 25th. Same place. Anything else? Anyone have anything they need to say or share?
NaNoWriMo's coming. Start planning.
Oh, yeah. So true.
Oh, God. Yeah, do that. Okay. Oh, yeah, I opened a NaNoWriMo folder on our Goodreads page. If anyone wants to post anything, there's a link if you're curious.
And I will make a fun challenge announcement when we next meet to talk about Abraham Lincoln.
Yes, so if you're interested in writing as well as reading, check it out. And we'll see you in a month. And go read stuff.
Read all the things.
Yes.
All the way.
All the things. Oh, dog.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.